To the ALGS rundown with all the big changes happening in Season 20, we obviously have to talk about all the Legend upgrade systems, the Replicator changes, and the introduction of Shield cores. And to help me focus on all of this, we have John Larson, a Respawn dev, who happens to be the brains behind some of these changes, as well as TSM Raven, a 3-time LAN champion, to talk us through what's new. How do shield cores and evo caches work exactly?
Yeah, so the biggest thing up front is that armor as you know it, and evo armor as you know it, is no longer a lootable object in the world. And I guess the fallout of this is that our evo system has now expanded to go just beyond dealing damage. Different things will give you evo points to level up through. You'll be starting with white still, level 2 will be blue, level 3 is purple, and level 4, if you can get there, will be red. Gold armor is off the floor, it's been tabled for now. But yeah, I guess the avenues for gaining evo are not only damage, that still happens, or is an avenue for evo gain, but you also have rewards for just general Apex actions. So some of these will just grant you a bonus. Kills, assists, squad wipes will grant a team-wide bonus. So combat-oriented things, as well as different class action-related movements, or yeah, class perk actions. So scanning beacons, ring consoles, opening up assault bins, support bins, scanning care packages. All of these will grant team-wide evo to help level up that armor in cases where you don't have combat maybe at your disposal. I know, you know, it's different in competitive versus pubs, but some people drop hot, some people are contested in comp, some people are landing center zone, edge of zone. So we wanted to make sure that there are avenues for different play styles, different ways to think about how to progress in Apex, and then just kind of fold that into what we think of as evo. So in terms of armor, like, that's the biggest thing. You can't loot it, you have to earn it. You have to earn it in some way. And we still are preserving the sort of shield swapping mechanics you can get from shield cores. So your armor, your level is tied to you, but the charge in that, your shield core, is something that you can swap off a death box for a quick charge in a fight. But ultimately your cap as you move through the world is tied to your level.
Yeah, Raven, so I'm curious about your opinion on this, because obviously pros are going to have to change the way that they play, especially when contested, like Jay said, or John said. So I'm really curious, do you think that we're going to see teams be way more aggressive off drop to get that upgrade immediately?
So I don't necessarily think that teams should be fighting for like evo stations, for example. The difference between how the game works now with the crafters is that if you don't get access to a crafter, another team is going to sit there for like 1 to 2 minutes. So there is grounds to fight for it. But these evo stations, people are going to just like pass them. They're just going to interact with them and just go. So I don't believe that people should be fighting for them. Although I think a lot of the rotates early game are going to be pretty wonky, because now teams are not going to have to sit at a crafter for 2 minutes, right? So they're just going to have to go back and forth between PvE, evo stations, beacons, bins, everything. So that's going to be really fun, having to see everyone just rotate entirely differently than they have before.
Raven, I'm curious what your ideal Legend comp is for ALGS with these changes. And I'll get to John as well. I want to see the differences.
So, okay, there are some standout characters to me. I think Bang is really strong, especially with her ultimate cooldown being out in a blue perk, so she spikes pretty early. I think Bloodhound is also going to be pretty good with a digi nerf. Otherwise, Caustic and Watson are also on my radar, but as a lot of you may know, or maybe some of you don't know, I like to counterpick, so I have to wait for what other people are playing, then I'll let you know. I'll build my comp after that.
Boo! All right, John, how about you?
I generally agree with a lot of that. I think Bangalore will still see a lot of usage unlike a lot of the people that are fighting her. And especially with the digi-change, like, you'll see some of her offensive capabilities are dampened a bit, but you can offset some of that with a Bloodhound character, or like a Bloodhound pick, especially with like attack cooldown reduction, just keeping those scans up. I think, yeah, in terms of just Fizz blocker, like, she still has the 2 charges of smoke, whole cooldown. So yeah, I still see her being a factor. I agree with you seeing Watson as strong. Like, we had fun with those upgrades, because I think there's different ways, even just comp aside, in terms of like different types of play styles around Watson. Because unlike many controllers, she probably more than anyone like broadcasts that she's taking space, right, with her fences and the gen. Like, you just know that, okay, the Watson team is here. Unlike Caustic, who might lurk in the shadows a bit more. So you have players that are into getting to their spot and letting people know that they're there, and then maybe with the split circuit upgrade, you can kind of be more dynamic within a fight and have 2 sort of strongholds that you can be playing off of, plus ult excel in 3.5 seconds. You could be hitting that mid fight. So I'm just curious to see how players play with the Watson upgrades. I know Sheila's kind of a meme in top levels, but like the improved handling and spin up, like, in playtest, I'm having fun with that. Like, you can feel that, and maybe with the bandolier, like being able to kind of flex into that more ammo management. But if you have bang, maybe you don't need that as much. Yeah, in terms of your recon pick, you probably got Bloodhound still. Vantage will be fun. I don't know. I don't think she's offering enough team util and comp, but could be a fun rank pick. I'm curious to see if any of the assault, I guess it's a lot of the assault characters that are getting like 2 charges attack, or just a buffed version of their 1 charge. Ashes in particular, like, I think snaring a team at the right moment could be interesting. I don't think outside of like the passives, not really much in comp. The ults still kind of weak and unreliable sometimes. And as long as you have Horizon, I feel like you're kind of offsetting a lot of the stuff that these characters can do in terms of area denial. Like if Fuse has, or I guess if Maggie has 2 drills now, Horizon still doesn't care because she can kind of get out of the way there still. But we'll see. Maggie, I think, will be pretty strong this meta as well. Like, we might see. It's not going to surprise me to see some Maggies. I want Gibby back in some capacity, but I feel like Maggie is tamping that down a bit. We'll see. But with the SMG nerfs, like, and with some of the strength of some of the ARs right now, maybe we see more shoddy play, more Maggie play. Newcastle, I don't know. I don't know what Raven's thoughts are on Newcastle, but I think his upgrades are pretty strong in terms of like attack health, or the move speed. I think you could see like a couple, if someone stuck with Newcastle and you had a couple like proficient Newcastle players, they could carve out a spot for themselves.
I totally agree. I actually do think Newcastle is going to be quite obnoxious to play against. So
yeah, I think we saw the emergence of Newcastle in ALGS for a little bit, but then players kind of tapered off, so I'm really excited to see people come back to that. And also Maggie. I mean, her ultimate change where the ball will not explode upon first hit and it'll bounce back. I think that's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, Raven, I don't know what comp would be perfect with Maggie, but I really want to see her in play.
Yeah, I shouldn't have left out Maggie at all. I do think she's going to be incredibly strong. Absolutely. And also the nice thing about Maggie is that she does have some like unique characteristics in that she does like, she's really good against like Newcastle wall or like Rampart wall, or sometimes she can even break a Watson gen through a wall. So she has these very unique properties, or even breaking the Gibby bubble, right? So depending on the meta, she could also just pop up as like a counter pick. Otherwise, I'm definitely just going to have fun running at people in ranked with her fire.
Oh yeah,
ball
no, absolutely,
so.
Same. Also, I mean, her perk with shotguns is pretty great for the EVA 8 entering the care package. So super excited to see how people play that. I hate that gun, but I liked it better with double tap, but you know what? Whatever. That's an argument for another day.
I hate that gun too. Something about how it sounds when someone is just ripping off 8 shells at me, and I'm like, just use a real shotgun, you know? Just 2-pump me with a respectable shotgun. But the weapons team wanted to cook with that one. They created some, whatever the care package EVA is. It's something.
If we were to see a Gibraltar meta come back with shotguns, Raven, what do you think we would see teams do more in terms of legend picks?
Well, I think that Gibby's best role in competitive is as a late game character. You don't want him to be running around in the open on edge. You want him to just sit in the zone, and then when you have to move, bubble out, throw your ult, and live longer than the other teams near you, right? So he's especially like this zone end game character. And I mean, that also kind of fits the whole shotgun thing, right? Like, shotguns are better the closer range you have to get, and that lends itself to late game. So if he is played, that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. But again, we talked about Maggie. If there is too many Gibbies or whatever, we might see Maggie's especially, or maybe she's just played anyways. That's always the biggest threat to Gibby.
We saw in Pro League so far, there was a ton of 30-30 use, right? Almost everyone was running it. But we do know that the 30-30 got a bit of a nerf. So Raven, do we see the 30-30 coming back still in its popularity?
So this is the point where I'm going to just let the pros figure that out, because as a coach, precision aim isn't my strong suit. I'm a pretty good close range player, I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm an MEK, but I'm gonna let the pros figure out all that, because yeah, a little bit out of my expertise.
Okay, John, did you want to see the 30-30 kind of rotate out of the meta?
Yeah, the 30-30, it's been an interesting trajectory, because I was talking with the weapons guys, and we were like they were like, have we ever touched the damage on the 30-30? It's like, that's the one thing that has never touched. We've given it the integrated dual shell hop up and all this stuff, and like done a bunch of things to sort of bring it into like a usable state, which is now definitely very usable, very strong. And then we were thinking, yeah, we never actually touched damage. So yeah, this is definitely like an intentional balance pass. It just we see the usage at all levels of play. Last night I got, in ranks, just a team with double 30-30s just started popping off as soon as the fight ended. I'm like, guys, really, come on. This new season's in 2 days. Like, let's try something else. But I think we'll see. I think there's some other marksman and ranged options that are gonna probably creep up in usage. Shout out to Monsoon on his Sentinel grind. I know he's been using that for a minute now. I think we'll see more Senties. Probably some more scouts on certain comps or for certain loadouts. And I think the 30-30 will still be strong. Hemlock, I think, will still be strong. I don't think these are now gutter tier now. Like, the hip fire on both is, I think, still going to be pretty strong in that. I know for the 30-30 in a pinch, it gets by pretty well with hip fire. But hopefully we see some diversity there. I mean, that's the goal of change, is just see more diversity in marksman sniper options.
How do you feel about the DigiSight not being able to be put on SMGs now?
I think it's actually sort of a buff to Bangalore in the sense that, you're just not going to get shot through your smoke as much. But it also is sort of a nerf, because then, you kind of you don't have to play Bloodhound with Bangalore, but like, that combo is especially strong. I enjoy it. I think that it was kind of just obnoxious or annoying running into a team and they just happen to have digis, and you're trying to rotate and they can just shoot you. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's something that we have been discussing obviously a lot more, where we'll share clips from ALGS and be like, this is something. This is there's room for improvement here in terms of combat readability and just being able to understand the front lines and where you can be getting shot from, like where threats are in the play space with abilities going off everywhere. And so it's not like this is the end-all be-all solution to smoke. It's just that remove digis, rifles, and guns and call it a day. Like I think the problem will still persist. It's just not going to be as prevalent. So there's different ways that we've been thinking about how to work in amongst smoke, because I do like smoke as an ability in Apex, but how can we create more like interesting gameplay around it and within it? Something we.
We have waited so long over the past few weeks to get back to where we belong, and that's in the ALGS, the Pro League. It gives us all the highs, all the lows, and maybe all the surprises. Today marks the beginning of a new season, a new meta, and maybe a new champion, at least someone as a forerunner who will push the envelope forward of the Pro League and Apex in general. All that coming up in North America as our top teams clash for the last day of our second round robin before we get into the back third of the entirety of the league. My name is Rainday, and I cannot wait to welcome you back to the North American ALGS. And of course, I'm not here alone. I'm with two of the best in the business. First off, Mark Onset Hatcher. Onset, how you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Always within touching distance of you is how I like to live my life. I'm very excited, of course, for today. We've had a little taste of EMEA earlier, the first look at Season 20 and how it's playing in the comp scene, in the ALGS lobbies, and now it's North America's turn, and we'll have to see if someone turns up and has got a few tricks up their sleeve.
We'll see if those tricks pay dividends. And of course, the man who might have seen them coming all along, Dan Gaskin, joining you on the cast and on the desk with all of us. Dan, big day. Season 20 begins for North America.
I like how everyone thinks I'm some sort of prophet when I really am not. I just kind of listen to what all the pro players are saying, what the coaches are saying, what all the smart people are saying, and we have a lot of them in North America, some of the biggest and best teams, and I cannot wait to see what they bring to Season 20.
Well, maybe you've just keyed the world into something. Maybe prophets aren't more than people who just pay attention, and maybe everyone else is blind to things that some who have sight can't truly see. We'll leave that for a philosophical point of the broadcast, and maybe when we're filling or something. But right now, we've got a lot to talk about. And of course, that means we've got a new meta. Season 20 has really shifted things up. It's added 100 new perks, all for each legend, meaning that the 25 legends now not only have their traditional ways to play and fit in with each other in team compositions, but their own individual ways to customize them throughout the changes that have now been brought into our new Season 20, which has really reinvigorated the player base and made this ALGS so exciting. And Mark, of course, it all begins with how you look at what these pros have kind of started off with. It's not necessarily where they'll end, but in the beginning, it seems like we've got a few favorites that are standing out a little bit more than others.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's going to be a journey when it comes to composition, when it comes to legend selection, and, you know, certain maps are going to offer certain things and certain legends are going to help on certain maps, right? And we'll start by looking at Stormpoint and some of the legends that we expect to see in this current meta. We're looking at Bangalore, of course. We heard how without the digis and the digi kind of nerf, you would say, not being on SMGs, the smokes become a little bit less aggressive and become more of a rotational tool. You have Bloodhound as well, who's going to be a recon legend, which means that, of course, he's going to be able to hit those survey beacons to level up that evo. Now, looking at the perk trees and what we're expecting maybe a few of these players and users of these legends to use, we're looking at first the blue perk, right? The level 2 perk, ultimate cooldown. It's always going to be something that pros are looking to use. The quicker that you can get abilities back, the better. And then as we move down to level 3 as well, this one's a little bit contentious because initially Refuge looked like the stronger one, but we're seeing Cover Me actually being used a little bit more. It gives a bit of information, especially in a smoke and a caustic meta that we have been seeing in the first few weeks of scrims, and certainly in EMEA in the ALGS. So that information is absolutely vital to teams, and it's what they can play off, right? And if you've got smokes and your vision is impaired, if you can get cover me down and you can get the opinion, get the option to see where those players are, it's always a good thing. By the way, hello Rambo, great to see you, my friend. And
little preview, huh?
I know, right? Giving things away too early. Maybe Dan is a prophet after all. Who knows? Anyway, we'll go back on to Bangalore here quickly just to close things out. Of course, they're the perks you're going to be seeing. You would expect to be seeing Pig. Very unlikely you're going to see Big Bang whatsoever with the ultimate cooldown available. Bloodhound now. Let's see what they have to offer. Attack cooldown for level 2 is going to be the go-to, I would imagine. Once again, just feeding into that story and the narrative that the sooner you can get an ability available, the more useful it's going to be, the more use you're going to get out of it throughout a game. That scan is so vital to players and teams. The quicker you can get it, the better. The next one, again, is probably going to be Taste of Blood. We're seeing, the fraggers generally be playing Bloodhound at the moment, and if you can get 25 HP upon your knock when you're in your ulti, great, you can continue being in the fight. And once again, when caustic gas down, burning away at those health meds, I mean, the fact that you can get 25 HP in and around that gas is certainly going to help you out a lot. So Bloodhound certainly going to be something we're going to be seeing today, and certainly the fraggers of the team are going to be using them. So next one up is going to be Valkyrie, who's kind of reintroduced herself a little bit to the meta, and the reason being that you've got a few different reasons, but one of them is the fact that the Afterburners perk on level 2 is going to give you a 15% higher skyward dive, which means that you can get up into the sky, you can get a little bit more clearance than you could with the evac towers, and you can get over some mountain ranges that might have previously been a problem. Next up as well, full coverage, more likely going to be used. You get that extra row of missiles, which means that you can flush those teams out from behind cover, do that little bit of oppressive damage, and even just hold some pushes down that are coming in on you if you've taken a little bit of damage yourself. So Valkyrie certainly reintroducing herself, and I haven't even mentioned Caustic because I'm leaving it to you, Rain Day, and I'm leaving it to you because World's Edge is where Caustic looks very strong.
Caustic does look strong, and great overview of what we might be seeing across Stormpoint. But World's Edge, like you had mentioned, Mark, does have some changes, notably in the control legend Caustic jumping in with Bloodhound and Valkyrie as a main staple for this early meta. Now, it doesn't mean things won't change, but for those who want to know what pros are kind of opting towards and why, let's break it down. Caustic has a few of the early perks that actually impact his ultimate. Unlike Taste for Blood, which impacts Bloodhound's ultimate but is a level 3 perk, Caustic's Particle Diffuser impacts his ultimate range not at 50% that you're seeing there, but 20%. Still a massive number to give you 1/5 more space and that much more of a deadly approach for your early game and entirety of the game ultimates, making him that much more efficient across, yes, regions of the game where he tends to struggle, the early and the mid game. You also have Breathe It In as an option, but just like we've seen people where Refuge from Bangalore smoke hasn't necessarily been the primary choice, people are sometimes opting for the Nox Vision, and I can understand why, because yes, Breathe It In might be what we choose, what you might choose in ranked, but when you have a highly coordinated team, when it comes to Vision, that is very hard to justify getting a little bit of HP when you never know if you're going to be able to play to that, but you can always play to having more information and having more vision, and that of course is a huge element. All these initial changes, but we've seen crazier things, guys. In EMEA, we even saw a lifeline, but that's not the biggest shift, Dan. It's not just been Legends, it's been the entire system of armor and how you play the game that's changed.
Yeah, armor as you know it has completely changed. You will no longer find armor as floor loot. Instead, you only have your shield core to work with, and it's about upgrading that shield core. There will be similar elements to what you've seen before from EVO armor. We know how EVO armor works. You deal damage and it upgrades, but now there is a far more amount of points needed to upgrade some of these totals from blue to purple. It's 1,800. That is a lot. So how are you going to do it? Well, you go on your little side missions, your little side quests, and these are all the various different objectives that you can do to give yourself Evo possibilities, whether that be from killing someone who has, and you have an underdog bonus. If you kill someone who has a better shield than you, you will be rewarded for that, whether it is just from damage, whether it is from getting a knock, or whether it's from opening perk bins, finding the new Evo harvesters that are on the map. There is a variety of ways to be able to upgrade your armors and get closer to purple, and maybe even if you're lucky enough, get red. Now, of course, the best way to get reds is actually Evo caches, which you can find in care packages or a lifeline care package if you use her ability, and that will allow you to really boost those Evo armors up. So if you do see someone who's on red but the rest of the team's on blue, you better believe they found a care package and they probably have a weapon to work with as well. There are so many different ways, whether it be survey beacons, whether it be ring consoles. Just keeping a keen eye on these teams that are playing Edge and the way that they kind of path around the map to try and find their best ability to get close to purple.
Yeah, it's one of those elements that I think when you really notice how this thing has shifted across not just legends, not just perks, but across shields. You know, people were wondering, is shield swapping even still a thing? A lot of basic fundamental questions of how the game is played has been what we've been looking at in Season 20. The developers have intended that. It's worked, but it's also opened up the same game that we love to be a little bit different and a little more surprising. And these pros are along this journey with us to discover what really works and what does not work and what they'll have to leave behind. Speaking of that, we do have to look at these pros because not only have they changed what they've got to play, maybe the meta, they've also changed rosters. It's been a few weeks since we've had Season 19 and now Season 20. It's been a few weeks of a break in Pro League, and we've had some changes. Hyzek joining Meat Lovers, Hambino joining SKR Tay, Luxford, and Native Luda also becoming a part of Sentinels from Complexity. You see Dutch as well, and EETH going to GG and Oversleepers respectively. This has been a series of adjustments that have made maybe more questions occur for fans watching as to how it'll work out, but hopefully I've had some answers specifically for members of Sentinels. We had a chance to talk to RKN about what these new changes and what Season 20 and the rest of the split should hold for them.
What's up, guys? Arcane from Sentinels. My teammates are Zenile and Luda, and we have Hill on the roster just in case we need him. Yeah, so coming into the Champs event at LAN, we had made a roster change. We were trying to find someone that would fit us a little bit better, try to increase our chances of putting down a top placement at that LAN event. During the off season, we went through another handful of changes. He was obviously a really good player. Koiful had some offers from some other teams that he wanted to pursue. And unfortunately for us at that time, he chose to pursue another option. And we were put in a position where we just needed to find a good fit for us on a short period of time. And we were trying out Orioles. He's a great player and a great guy, but he just didn't seem to be the right fit for us. So coming into this next game day, we're going to be playing with Luda. We think he brings a lot more aggression to the team and fills some gaps that we're looking for. And we're just hoping that it's a good fit. Yeah, so recently scrims have actually been pretty interesting, pretty entertaining. I think they go exactly as you planned. In terms of, we have just been trying different things, trying Luda on different characters and trying Luda on different fits to the team, like how he wants to play with us and how we want to play around him. So we've had varying results, and we've seen things that work really well for us, and we've seen things that absolutely don't work at all. And our final day of scrims, like leading up to this interview, went really well. After we made a final adjustment, we went from playing absolutely miserable to like back-to-back-to-back top threes. So we've definitely seen the adjustment in our play just over a short period of scrims.
Well, obviously great to talk to RKN, who is a hashtag girl dad. Congratulations as well. And obviously he's been a part of our broadcast over some of the lands. He's done a great job there. And I think ultimately, Mark, always trying his best to lead his team into victory, sometimes can feel a bit of the pressure on his own shoulders. But I think the best that you can do is trust yourself, trust your team, trust your calls and your own play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's proven time and time again that, you know, people write off RKN and there's no reason to, because he consistently makes lands. He's consistently been placing throughout the years. I mean, he's a player we've been talking about since the start of Apex, and we're still talking about him now. And there's been a lot of names that have fallen by the wayside in that time. So I'm sure the Sentinels are going to come back strong. They've got a lot of work to do for sure, but they are in a position now where they've got a fresh player, they've got a fresh face, and hopefully some fresh results as well.
Well, in North America, like in EMEA, things have shaken up, especially between Season 19 and Season 20, but the standings are still the same as when we left them. This is the last day, match day 6 of our second round robins, meaning there is one more games, 3 game set for each of these teams where they'll play 2 out of 3 and wait to see who can finish in the top 20 to have a chance at the regional finals and place towards our playoffs. Now, DarkZero leading just over a few points from LG, but they're doing it with actually an entire game series less played. So 3 series played. LG already played all of their 4, and the same thing goes for Moist, who are only 2 points behind them. In fact, 6 out of our top 10 teams have only played 3 out of the 4 series, and they will be presenting in B and C today. So that bodes really, really well for our top 10 moving even higher. But it also means that maybe Mark will see some teams who are in that 3 place here have a chance to step up into our top 10 as well if they perform today.
Yeah, there's a few teams in this list now that really need points. And I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but there's some of the big hitters that we have in the ALGS. And I just want to touch upon one thing you said. You know, we're almost 2/3 of the way through. You know, we've only got a certain amount of game days left. Time is running out for these teams. I'm looking at DSG, force your way up the leaderboards. I'm looking for OpTic and XSET, especially though. They have the ability to really change things up with a good game day today, but they have to start getting results now. They cannot afford to let it wait any longer. It's time for OpTic and XSET to reintroduce themselves.
That's a great point, Dan, as well. Teams that desperately need it. We kind of always leave this towards you, but, you know, it is still one of the bigger stories. What can we see from a miracle run from any of these teams in the back 10, if possible?
That's the thing. As the prophet, it is my kind of responsibility to try and help these teams push themselves a little bit further. You know, it's not looking great for the likes of Cream, Oversleepers, Tempr. I don't even know if my prophet capabilities can help them at this point, but you never know. That's the crazy thing about Apex Legends, is on any given day, someone can turn up, someone could perform. But the likes of Meat Lovers, the likes of FaZe, Sentinels, they are three big names, three big teams that really could make a difference in not just today's matches, but in future matches, and will want to be trying to push themselves towards LAN. They've all been through their own trials and tribulations, but they all still have a chance to push themselves further.
Well, if you noticed, those threes meant that anyone who had that number beside their team name would be playing today. This will round out, like we have mentioned several times, our second of 3 round robins where all of these teams have a chance to go at it. A versus B, B, C, and AC. This is B and C playing their 4th of the series. And you know, one of the things about this is you look at these teams like OpTic and XSET, 2 teams you mentioned, Mark, were kind of in that middle zone where they needed a performance. Is it somehow going to be a revitalizing time for them with Season 20, a new meta, another thing to prove? You have a feeling that those 2 teams being close in finals every single LAN that we've been in, one of our top teams that we focused on throughout all of our online splits, maybe don't feel like they have anything to prove online anymore. Season 20 might have just lit a flame under them to not only get out ahead, but maybe signify that this could be the time XSET and OpTic finally break that barrier and push into a championship. Let's see if that can all happen, because this is the beginning of what could be a very exciting day in North America ALGS. And to kick it off, we've got no one better. It's Onset and Gaskin.
You're always so kind when you throw to us, honestly.
Too kind.
There's a smile on my face. He knows exactly what he's doing, doesn't he? He knows how to butter us up before he sends it over to us, and make sure we're in a good mood ahead of the first game. But that first game is just around the corner, everyone. I've got to say, Dan, very exciting time, of course, to be back casting over North America. But I think one thing to talk about before we get the games underway today is the leaderboards. And even though we talk about North America, it's a little bit Aussie at the top of things at the moment, with Moist and DarkZero essentially leading the way. LG sandwiched in between them, but that could change today with both DarkZero and Moist being a game day behind. We're obviously starting on World's Edge today, which is another change as opposed to Storm Point that we've been in through the previous games of the season. So a little bit of a change in the map, and we'll have to take a look at some of the POIs, Dan, because there's been some changes there as well.
Yeah, I was counting through it last night, actually, and there's been 10 POI changes in B and C from the last time we saw them on broadcast. So there has been a mixed match of everyone trying to figure out where we should be going, what's going to be one of the best spots. And as we saw earlier on today in EMEA, Trials is one of the best POIs that you can work with right now, and DarkZero have claimed it. They have been playing here before between B and C, but remember, traditionally, XSET used to be dropping over towards Trials, but have kind of been forced off of it a little bit. Is there going to be a fight back? That's going to be my question. But look at the amount of red names. There are contests that could be going down here, but everyone else has kind of found somewhere to call home. I mean, FaZe, for example, we saw that they had a real issue in previous groups with being contested, but at least they're going to be okay at Geyser here.
Yeah, I think it's the very interesting story, right? Is DarkZero announced that they're going Trials, and XSET don't really have a choice but to leave, right? Because XSET obviously haven't put themselves in a position where they can afford a contest and afford 3 games where they don't get points on the board. So they've had to say, hey, DarkZero, fine, you can have it. We don't want to really be challenging that because we can't afford to. DarkZero could happily, with the amount of points they have on the board, challenge every single game and lose every single game and be fine moving over to Storm Point. So that's the kind of weight of expectation. I think it's pretty smart from DarkZero, to be honest with you, to see, hey, this POI is going to be really strong. The team who are there right now are desperate for points. Hey, let's just say we're going there. Let's say this is ours now, and if you want to contest us for it, you're more than welcome. But it could cost you your spot at LAN.
I did hear Nicewig as well talking about the fact that maybe we could see DarkZero even going further than that and saying, all right, we claim trials, but actually we're going to drop on XSET to make sure they don't make it to LAN. Shout out Nicewig, of course, for doing his watch parties as well, but it's something that could be a consideration the further you get down the line here, because strategically it ensures that DarkZero will be uncontested at LAN at trials in their head. Maybe not something that will happen today, but we'll have to wait and see.
Let's just remind ourselves as well. I mean, I'll just go back to Champs, was it? I believe the classic Harvester battle that we saw between Aurora and DarkZero. And then we went over to Stormpoint and DarkZero went, hey, Aurora, we're dropping on you this map as well because we've had enough of you. Well, we'll have to see if that is going to be the case. So much more to, of course, find out about these teams and how these lobbies are going to work. It's the first game that we're seeing in North America in the ALGS on Season 20, and we'll have to see if any teams have got a little bit of a leg up when it comes to getting those Evos up nice and quickly and getting towards that zone. We saw it a little bit earlier in EMEA, a couple of teams who seem to have worked out a way to get up to Reds nice and quickly and fight their way in from Edge. Those zone teams, though, usually going to be working with Blues. Let's see what's going to be coming out on top here. And I've got to say, once again, eyes on the likes of DarkZero and Moist in this lobby are the Aussies, plus a should we say a resident American on their team, going to be able to continue leading the way.
And I think we're going to see a little bit more caustic in North America than we did in EMEA. North America certainly leaning towards the caustic meta a little bit heavier than their European counterparts, and you can already see by the selection there is floods of caustics, so it is going to be a very stinky lobby indeed. But it's going to be very important that your caustic player is going to be there and thereabouts in that final circle, because they're going to have some of the best vision when it comes to that final moment. Well, match one is underway. Everyone's dropping out. We're expecting to see contests at Countdown and Landslide in particular. We'll have to see how those fights go down.
Something to notice there on the Legend Select. It looks like DSG are mixing things up a bit. You got a Fuse and a Wraith potentially going into their composition. We'll have to see if that's true and how that works as well. But speaking of contest, Dan, we know there's going to be a lot of them, and we already have one here between Oversleepers, and they're trying. I think they might have just about got that first knock. No, they don't get that knock, so it's a 3v3 here at Landslide.
Yeah, it's Ape Gang they're going up against as well. And we've already seen how important these early fights can be. In EMEA, teams were kind of shying away from them a little bit, but the risk and the reward are both there. If you can win this engagement, you're going to be the first team on blue, and then you can start to think about your rotations after the fact. But teams were typically disengaging when we were watching earlier in EMEA. We'll have to see whether that's going to be the same here in North America. It doesn't look like it. Oversleepers and Ape Gang are certainly trying to finish this fight.
Knock's coming in. Whether he's going to get the first one here, he's still alive, and everyone's still alive here on Oversleepers. Nice shots coming in from the Prowler as well. Just want to make sure they don't throw this situation. The Sentinel is great on contest, unless it's a short-range battle. And Matic gets one himself. It's a 1v2, I believe, at the moment, but HP is extremely low, and now it's a 1v1. And it's Sniper versus Sniper at the moment, I believe.
Yeah, this could be a big moment to be able to hit this shot. You've also got to be well aware of what could be happening in terms of contests, as now a revive is going to be baited. Will it actually go off? No, it won't. Can you hit the Sentinel shot? That's the real question.
Can Charmander burn through? That's the question. Going to be dropped on. It's a knockdown battle. He's only got to hit one shot here, Charmander. But he's not going to connect this first time. He's going to poke the second. 70 is not one. Oh, the second is good. Ape Gang eliminated, and it's the Sentinel on drop that does the damage.
And I'm just looking, is there anyone? Is there any sharks in the water? 9 Lives are certainly close enough to push on it if they want to, but because they're spread out at Lava Fissure, I don't think they're going to in the end. Now over towards Monument, where XSET and EVYLUTION are currently fighting as well, just trying to really dominate this middle POI. They could split Monument and Fragment, but instead they're both fighting to assert dominance.
Well, Fun's cooking right now. He's getting the shield break as well. He's got a Peacekeeper in his hand, and when you're on M&K, I tell you, the Peacekeeper is a problem, as all shotguns are this season. If you can get into a position, they are huge damage output, and especially off drop. Finding that blue bolt is very, very good. Now, this is a bigger moment than I think we're actually talking about for XSET. It's been a shaky season so far for them, but if you win a contest, you win a fight off drop, the momentum, even this early on, can be huge for how the rest of your day goes.
And not only for the rest of the day, but this game in particular, the circle is coming this way. It's a very central zone, slightly north, but Monument is going to be in the next 2 circles. So if you win this engagement, you're going to have a little bit of time to kind of loot up, as EVYLUTION are going to lose one more at XSET, secure the victory. They go up to Blues, and it is a great start for a much-needed points week for them.
Yeah, that's going to be points on the board, like you say, Evo on the board as well, and maybe one problem with dropping over Monument and towards Fragment is loot pool isn't as good as some other places, and maybe you have to kind of extend out of the zone to find some of those Evo harvesters. It's kind of, again, the dichotomy of landing central, right? It's you have to work your way out sometimes now that we have the pathing issue and the fact that you have to go and collect certain things to make sure that your armors are getting leveled up. So winning an early fight is the best way to do that for them. They do actually have a ring console as well to hit to get a little bit more Evo in the bag. And I tell you what, for XSET, it's a really big week. I think it's probably a bigger week for XSET than it is anyone in this lobby at the moment, and that's the perfect way for them to start.
We also briefly saw DarkZero on our screens dropping towards Trials, arguably one of the strongest POIs, and the reason I say that is that was confirmed in EMEA with the amount of red armors we saw from La Cité de France, because they were able to drop at Trials, do any sort of Trials business, and then do all of the Evo harvesters, all of the survey beacons that are going to be around. You saw how spread out DarkZero were as well to try and really kind of make sure that every single objective could be hit at once. There's now 9 Lives who are over towards Countdown. It looks like they're being pressed at the moment. I know Creamer there and OpTic Gaming also in the vicinity too.
One knock does go down. Cream trying to move up on this at the moment, but not quite in a position to do so. Trying to cross that bridge. Suppressing fire coming in from the scout and the 30-30 repeater. Going to make crossing that ground pretty difficult. Lazar's Ultima is going to expire though, so he's not going to have the scan available for quite some time, but popping an OpTic cell to try and hold this off. Dynasted as well knows that he's got to think about getting his teammate's banner as well. And she's looking like a little bit of an awkward situation, a little bit of an awkward fight, but they are going to be able to get the banner at least, and with other teams moving into the vicinity, maybe that's going to take the attention away long enough for them to escape and maybe think about a res later in the game.
This is going to be an interesting final circle as well, maybe ending towards the kind of toll station, perhaps the rocks that are just kind of southeast of it as well. There's a few teams that are kind of posturing up around it. You've got the potential it could draw towards the train station on the eastern side. So there's a lot of areas at the moment that people are trying to predict, but it isn't the easiest circle to try and go for. And there's a lot of open space, a lack of coverage in some of these areas. So all these core sticks are not going to have as much of a benefit as they would if this was a final circle that was residing with more buildings.
Well, one team who are feeling pretty good right now is going to be EA. They take the Beacon building, which is a very good location, regardless of what side of the tracks this zone will be pulling. Another team who are going to be in a pretty good position and actually might be in a fight is going to be DarkZero. They're moving through the Vault Tunnel at the moment. Complexity also there as we take a look in at DSG, who have a very interesting composition as well. And yes, indeed, we're seeing Timmy on the Fuse and we're seeing Designful on the Wraith. So a little bit of a swap for Designful. We knew he were, if you listen to their comms a little bit, DSG wasn't too happy with certain legends he was being asked to play. But this one certainly allows him to flex a little bit, get in and out, and be the fragger that he loves to be.
I mean, you've still got the ability to hit the ring consoles through the core stick. You can still scan the care packages as well through the Rave, so there's still plenty of ways to be getting those Evo upgrades. There's complexity at the moment down to just a 2, and it could be just a 1 as Lou is on just a slither of HP as Monsoon also falls. Is the support of Lifeline, so there is the ability to craft the banners if Lou is able to get away, but this is not the same kind of Lifeline gameplay we were seeing in EMEA, where they often were in the final circle with her. We'll have to see whether Lou can get back on track.
Yeah, that's going to be DarkZero pick up those KP as well. And look at that, they're already leaving Skyhook with a blue and 2 purples. They're already involved in the fights as well. And I tell you what, they are looking dangerous here, DarkZero. They are top of the leaderboards at the moment with the game day in hand. That's how dominant they have been so far in the split, and it's looking like not too much is changing at the moment. DarkZero and XSET inside of that zone in 2 of the best positions, as you can see in your map overhead, not just for the next zone, but for the one afterwards as well. XSET just holding down that choke and that high ground, overlooking everybody on the eastern side.
It is a more difficult position for XSET to hold than it is for DarkZero. Of course, DarkZero have those natural covers from the choke that they're holding in that Vault Tunnel, whereas XSET, they're a little bit more open to the elements, as it were, so they may try and move away from it. You can see, actually, one of their players is kind of scouting a little bit further north, perhaps to see if the tunnel is free. When they realize it's not free, they're probably going to retreat back to their original position. But there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be arriving from the east, which will make it quite difficult for XSET to survive, but XSET could pick up a lot of kills on that platform. So it's a real question of, do they just play for some kills and make sure they get some KP on the board?
I mean, Lou crafted the banners. Don't think he's going to be able to use them though, unfortunately. You saw Oversleepers. I think they knew and they heard Blue scarpering his way towards that respawn beacon, and we're able to take him down. So that'll be Complexity eliminated, one of the standout teams, of course, in the game days that we've had up until this point and the end of Season 19. But Season 20, a bit of a rough start for them in game number 1, but a long way to go, of course.
And Oversleepers just benefiting again from the conduit. Clearly, they knew they were going to be contesting at the start of this, so they decided to try and play a legend that would help them out in those contests. And now it's about whether it can help out in the late game. Of course, the ultimate from conduit can be great for zoning teams and could help them out a little bit later on, but we'll have to wait and see, as it looks like there's a player just hiding behind here. It's going to be FaZe and DSG, who are, I thought, might posture up, but it looks like DSG are just going to be out of here.
DSG with the evac. Making sure that they're as close to each other as they can when they do go up it. You don't want to get singled out and called out by a team in the vicinity who's just going to decide to pepper that one player at the end who's split. All these little tiny things that come into consideration, even with something as simple as using an evac tower for these teams who are, of course, some of the best in the world. And DSG have been interesting so far this season. Certainly been entertaining for a number of different reasons. If you're a Goggins fan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but also leaving it late is what they've had to do a few times. They kind of had a pretty poor games 1 to 5 and then pulled out a winning game 6 to save the day.
Yeah, interested to see what Designful takes on Wraith as well, whether it's just going to be the tactical cooldown, which we expect, but then you've also got a big choice at level 3, whether you reduce your tactical windup by 20% or whether you reduce the ult cooldown by 20%. So it's difficult on the Wraith, but I guess we might be able to find out more in a listen-in with Disguised and see what they're thinking.
He might jump off. On the crane. Somebody's close right. Somebody's close right. No one's in the crane. No one's in the crane.
Where's somebody thing?
Somebody's close right. Bloodhound close right.
I ulted.
I'm taking him. Nice. I'm taking him. He's stuck right here. I'm gonna arc him. Yeah.
Okay, 70 bud. There's two.
Yeah, I'm going back. They're gonna be getting angled. I ported to the head glitch.
Crack green going left. Buddy.
She's in a really bad spot. One's to my right. One's on top of me. I'm trying to get him off. I'm playing zone. I just freaked him out.
Well, we can go and calm down maybe.
Focus that horizon that's on height, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You need to get that height. Just keep spamming Qs up there.
I can't.
It doesn't matter how long we take zone. Just keep spamming Qs up there. Keep going right and getting angles. Now we take this cart.
Coming.
I killed him. Down low.
Yep, I killed him.
Bang.
I hit him for 50.
One shot, bang. She dropped. One shot. She's about like ulti low. Keep spamming nades up there.
I can't peek. I'm popping. I can't peek. He's gonna jump off. He jumped off, I think. He jumped off.
Okay,
No night.
You take the space. One's to the right. Different team to the right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take the height.
Yeah, I'm going height too. Underneath.
Yeah, all underneath.
Free shot. Bang one. Bang Careful RB.
We're in a bang ult.
Yep.
Two barrels. I think I'm safe back on me. Yeah.
Selling. 30 seconds. You get port back and go trailer. There's a teacher.
I don't have ult stuff. We're gonna evac. We're gonna evac to tower. Crossing. Bang 100. Full team right here. Full 3.
Done. Full dead. There's only one team now.
Nice. Get ready to pop the ulti. We're gonna fly to the tower.
See behind you. Hey. We should go tower. I'm evac.
Popping evac. Yeah.
I can't. Got left.
We might not be safe there. We might have to fucking kill this RV. I don't think we're safe. We're gonna have to kill this RV.
Are you going out?
I'm down. 100 on blood. One's out to the right here.
I have nades.
Yep.
There's a guy to my left over here.
I'm popping it back.
I'm ulting this rock. Two. Yep.
There's a bunch of teams in the field to the left. Wait, do we have an evac?
No. We're going right.
Get ready to take my fucking portal. There's a team in the tower. Fuck. The trailer.
Oh, okay. I just fucking some more damage down for you. Fuck yeah.
My port is on it. Play slow. Play out here.
No.
There's a team to our left.
I'm spamming nades. I have to spam nades. I'm dead.
Alright, come to us, buddy. You're good.
You need rest now. Walking up.
They're trying to walk up.
Yeah, play. Hold on.
Blood is low.
No.
Play safe. The other team's gonna fuck them. I'm holding up.
No, I'm dead.
Well, TSG trying to hold on for their lives at the moment. It's all up to enemy. A couple of knocks have come in on either side, though, but the knockdown shields are always a problem. Meat Lovers are going to be eliminated in the meantime, but it was Tempr who went down in the middle of this sandwich at the moment. An enemy who has clutched up so many times has got a chance to do it now, but here come 9 lives.
Yeah, and it should be an easy cleanup, and it will be, but you've also got Snipe down who's still alive for FaZe, and there's one player you don't really want to run into, but it doesn't matter because there's going to be extra help from XSET on the other side as well. It is just chaos at the moment between all these teams that are trying to survive on the southern side, and even 9 Lives aren't even able to stay up as a full 3.
And Lives are going to get swung on themselves as well. XSET doing a huge amount of damage, and now XSET come in for the cleanup. 9 Lives will be eliminated, and it's huge for XSET. More KP for them in this game, and they're into the top 9 now. So guaranteed points for XSET, changing that POI, changing the strategy, and looking like they might be able to change the results as well.
I think it was important that XSET did push that as well. They didn't try and hold the position they were originally having on that kind of hillside a little bit earlier, which I think now has been taken by SSG, but instead they push off when they notice there is free KP available. I say free KP, they still had to work with it. Elsewhere, DarkZero still holding this vault tunnel. It's Sentinels on the other side who have kind of flew into Skyhook and now are going to have to try and force their way through tunnel. This is not going to be easy for them.
Not going to be easy, especially with a Kraber in the hands of Jim Burton. You would probably think that, hey, maybe Zero's got something in his back pocket as well, because trust me, Zero with the Kraber is pretty nasty, but so is Jim Burton. 140 is going to completely slow this down. The more damage that's done here by DarkZero, the slimmer chances are for Sentinels to get anywhere near this vault tunnel. Zone is closing behind them. All the caustic traps are down. There's the scan as well. This is going to be a rough one here for Sentinels.
Yeah, I'll give RKN all the praise if their Sentinels are able to get out of this one. They've done a lot of damage to Zero, but it looks like a knock does come through. RKN will be the first one to fall, and Sentinels do get eliminated. That was a near impossible push to make, especially with the Kraber in the hands of DarkZero. Now we're down to 8 squads with that elimination, but it's going to be very shortly 7 by the looks of it. SSG in a little bit of trouble. Legacy on one side, Oversleepers on the other.
Legacy moving forward as well, and Legacy doing a huge amount of damage here. SSG in trouble, and SSG eliminated. 7 squads now remain. SSG, of course, who the last time these two groups met up, came first in the overall. So SSG falling early here, and Legacy returning to form is a great thing for the Mexican squad. They are looking so strong right now, and I've been waiting for this moment. Legacy returning to form now that the, shall we say, the chapter is closed with Moist on the contests over at Storm Point. That really didn't help either team out. It looks like both are playing at their potential once again.
Yeah, we know what Legacy are capable of. It would be weird if we didn't see Legacy get to land, but I think first of all they had to go through that passage, that chapter of fighting unnecessarily, it seemed, for the drop spot, but now thankfully it's been resolved, and as you said, it didn't really help either team. But now they do have a chance in this game. They have to try and focus on the fight that's happening on this eastern side. If they can wipe Elevate off of the map, then they can force their way in from that eastern side and have the opportunity to win this game.
I mean, you're looking at the fight here, right? There's one solo alive still from Eternal. However, Legacy versus Elevate is going to be the fight on this eastern side. The difference is Armors and Wingman. That is not a good thing to be going up against. You don't fancy the chances here of E8. The only thing that E8 really have in their favor is the fact that they're a little bit closer to zone, so Legacy are going to be forced to move first. But I mean, Nia's all with the Wingman in his hands. It's very unlikely that they're going to be able to not out damage them here. They do get that final kill on the solo as well, and now you're going to see that fight, which is so important. But they do have an evac available as well if they want to try and play this late.
So on one side you've got OpTic versus XSET. DarkZero kind of in the middle of everything, just watching right now. But there's that Wingman damage that you were talking about from Legacy. But Jaguars is taking a lot of damage, and actually Legacy are going to fall. Pure positioning from Elevate helping them out. Meanwhile, OpTic versus XSET scrapping.
XSET looking to take down OpTic, but it's OpTic who are falling from the height. It's going to be a 2v2 on this side of the map. DarkZero also, of course, overlooking this. Shout out to the frag grenade that took part in the other fight, by the way, on the other side between Legacy and Elevate. Now you're seeing the swing come in. XSET down to 2. DarkZero going to clean up the last remaining pieces of OpTic Gaming, and look, E8 now, having won that side of the zone, can now move in to try and clean up this zone.
Yeah, we knew whoever won on the eastern side would have an opportunity in this final circle, but it's going to be DarkZero versus Elevate. There is still remainders of XSET, but I think the Elevate are going to send that. They clean it up. Now it's 2 squads remaining with DarkZero in prime position.
DarkZero should win this one. They get that damage, they get the first knock, and now once again, it's the Aussies +1 who move in to clean things up. DarkZero, champions of game number 1 here on World's Edge.
And Trials reign supreme yet again. Now, it was a circle that certainly benefited DarkZero, but the way they played it, they were slow to begin with. They upgraded all their armors with the Evo possibilities and all the different objectives, but then they held that tunnel throughout the entirety of the game. They made sure no one was able to push them, and it was as simple as that. It always looks simple from DarkZero, but you know the amount of strategy that went into it. Very impressed as always.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very, very good few weeks for DarkZero, and obviously it's been a very good split for them so far, but I feel like when you're looking at IGLs and you're looking at those who can adapt the most, I think Zero is probably one of the best that you could possibly ask for, right? I think if you're looking at someone who sets up on strategy, who wants to play a certain way, maybe you don't look at Zero, but Zero's ability to call things on the fly, I think is better than anyone. I really do, and I think changing POI, looking at how they want to play the game, the fact that it's a new season, it kind of feeds into how he wants to play Apex, right? And I think the DarkZero are going to be dangerous, man. And I just think that first game is a perfect indication of it.
Well, with like Evo Harvesters being so prevalent in the meta and the pathing that we've spoken about, being able to adapt on the fly is massive. I mean, we heard it when we interviewed Le Site de France in the EMEA portion of the show. They were saying that sometimes the zones force you to just having to adapt, having to think on the fly. And if Zero is one of the best at doing that, then that just automatically elevates DarkZero and the way that they play the game. That circle was very beneficial for them, but you've also got to commend them for how they played it.
Yeah, very good rotate from them to get that tunnel early. They obviously picked up a little bit of Evo along the way to make sure that when they were in those fights that they were able to at least win them, and then just cleaning up the final damage. I mean, the difference in that final 3v3, the biggest gun in the game, once again, the Kraber, right? 140, it's not a knock, but it's enough to allow you to close all of the space that you wanted to put pressure on and while that player's out of the fight. So the Kraber once again making the difference as DarkZero take home game number 1. Pretty impressive from them, but again, you're looking at the final zone, Dan, and I think the fact that XSET are there, XSET won a couple of fights in that game as well. They were involved in that top 4, I think it was, where they fell. That's the kind of start they needed for confidence. We know how they're a confidence team, and that game 1 is important for them.
Yeah, there's very few positions in a circle like that you can actually hold for any amount of time. DarkZero had one of the few. As for XSET, we saw they were up on the hillside for a while. I think they were quite right to push off it, take the KP where it was available. I think they knew they weren't really going to win the game from that position unless someone else made a mistake. But that's sometimes the best thing you can do in those final circles is just give yourself the best possibility to get points and then hope someone else slips up. Didn't happen on this occasion, but in the future, maybe it could have.
We'll take a look at the match results then. We know who was in first place as far as placements, and hey, well, 10 kills to go alongside it. DarkZero once again making a statement, and I think this has been a little bit of a revenge tour for them so far after the disappointment of the champs last year, of course. DarkZero, 10 kills alongside the 12 placement points, 22 overall for them. Elevate again up there. One of the standout teams for me so far in North America with their consistency, but XSET and OpTic, the two teams we really highlighted at the top of this show as needing to find points, 3rd and 4th respectively, and XSET with 7 kills to go alongside their placement points as well.
Legacy demonstrating that they've still got what it takes as well, with 13 points overall, 9 of it being KP. On the lower side, still some KP being picked up by some of the squads who had to rotate from kind of south to north, and they were forced into chokes, they were forced into difficult positions. But it's important when you do have those games that you are able to come away with it with at least 4 or 5 points, just so you have something to work with. On the flip side, wasn't the best of starts for the likes of Complexity. We saw their struggles. They weren't able to get the Lifeline going. Sad for me as a Lifeline fan. EVYLUTION and the Ape Gang, they were the two that lost the contest right at the start of the game.
We'll take a look at some of the stats that we see from our winning team in that previous game. DarkZero, game number 1. And speaking of Zero, it's looking dark for everyone else in the lobby at the moment because Zero picks up 5 kills on his way to leading the team towards that first place finish. Jim Burton in there with some decent assists alongside Sykes as well. The Kraber, like we mentioned, making the difference in not just one fight that we saw, but potentially 2, especially in that end game as well. So impressive stuff from DarkZero. It's up to the rest of the lobby to see if they can put up a fight as we move into the break and we get ready for match number 2, which is coming up just after this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another game on the way here in North America. Rain Day and Onset on the cast with you. It was a great game. I love that tagline. DarkZero leaves everyone in the dark. That clearly has been what's happened in North America so far. First place and only 3 out of 4 sets series played. That just means that if they continue this, they are going to really put some separation amongst them and the rest of the teams, Mark. But, you know, I love to continue on that conversation around XSET and OpTic, which you had brought up, and it's so appropriate to see them also popping off, really making for maybe that moment that we do see them start to become in form yet again heading into the back part of this season.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation because you're looking at, say, the season didn't change, Apex didn't change in the way that it has with Season 20. OpTic Gaming and XSET probably looking for answers still that they can't quite find, right? Because they tried a lot of different things. Now that Season 20's come around, maybe a few things that have been added and changed to the game are going to help those teams. It gives you an opportunity to refresh what you're thinking on the game, your outlook on the game, and a change of POI that may be forced upon you. Maybe that changes things for you as well. For XSET, a change of POI, of course, for OpTic as well. All these things rolled up into one. That's just giving them the opportunity to refocus coming into the last third of this split where they really need to find the performances. Now they've had to reevaluate everything, and by doing so, it allows you to pick away at what has worked, what hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And I think in that first game, we've just seen the OpTic and XSET are going to be there when we come to the end of the season.
I mean, that's really a good point as well. One of the things I mentioned, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit after this early fight because it's just so interesting to see a continued aggression with Oversleepers. This went the way of Votary and Squad with Charmander evolving with that Sentinel. They hit that final shot that really set the deal, but can they do it again is the question. Conduit, one of the best characters to have in a situation like this, but still, they're going to have to put their bullets in the other players if they're going to make it work.
One thing I love about Season 20, contests are even. No one's going to find a purple armor and become the absolute Arnold Schwarzenegger of the lobby and just win this contest without any kind of competition. Actually not sure what Arnold Schwarzenegger's fighting style is like, by the way. I don't know if he's a good fighter, but he's a big guy, so you get what I'm getting out there. But it's going to be taken here, which is going to stall this fight out for a little bit longer. And to be honest with you, the longer this fight is stalled, the less likely it is that anyone's really a winner, because you know that someone's going to be sniffing around the area and probably come to have a look at this. And let me tell you, Cream are thinking about it. They're pretty close.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, this is a difficult spot to fight in general. One of the things that you would like to be is on this high ground, but the reason I find this difficult is because it's so easy for other teams to get in on this fight from range, and it's very, very hard to defend from anywhere except that high ground. And so there is some good value here. It's almost like you must do it in this situation, but in terms of the risk, I mean, your 30-second rule, I mean, forget it. I mean, to me, this is just a very risky spot to be taking this, but you have to do what you have to do. It goes the way this time of Ape Gang, and so that's even worse because you know, now you don't have the trust that you can do it back to back, and they've split it. But now another team, as I had mentioned it, they're already on it, and this is why I hate fighting here.
Yeah, I mean, Cream are waiting for this. They know the contest is going down. They were just waiting for the knocks. They were waiting for one team to be eliminated and then just to clean up the pieces. Damage has already been done. Also in this contest as well, meds would have been burnt, so you know everyone you're chasing isn't really going to be able to get fully healthy. And even with the RE45 at range, they're going to pick up one free KP. So Cream take advantage of the situation of the lobby, and Tempr, they might be able to benefit as well, as Wi-Fi is going to be the last player alive, and you can see Cloaked is going up to the high ground. He's just waiting for him to move before he registers his first KP of the game.
And you know, one of the things that is great about this is sometimes starting off on the right foot can mean all the difference in moving forward into a really good series. And you know, there is a thing as momentum. We often talk so much about the analytical, the logistics, the small things that you know, have big differences, but there's some things that are very unspoken, unmentioned. Hitting a shot, feeling good, hitting that Sentinel shot that just, you know, makes you say, oh man, I'm feeling it today. And that kind of carries on with the trust and the confidence in your calls, in your teammates' calls. I mean, this is a competitive esport, and there's so many elements mentally that also play into a factor. I know we kind of keep harping on all the things that have changed in Season 20, but that still remains the same. Sometimes you're in rhythm, and having a good play can really help bolster your confidence heading into the back half of this.
Yeah, I think it's, as we take a look at the zone and where we're going on World's Edge, we're going down towards Stacks and Big Maud, right on the southeastern side of World's Edge. Very good news for Moist Esports, who, of course, not only own Stacks, but also own Big Maud as well on their drop now, with OpTic Gaming moving away. But I think just to go back to what you talk about, it's one of my favorite conversations I had with Raven. And, you know, we were talking about all the ins and outs of Apex, you know, how it is, discussing theory craft and all that stuff. And then we just both came to the agreement that it doesn't really matter if you don't hit your shots, because that's essentially what it comes down to in 90% of the battle, right? So if you do everything perfectly and you miss your shots, well, you didn't do anything perfectly. It's as simple as that. Complexity now, who did have a little bit of a rough one in game number 1. They're inside of the broken eggshell here, inside of the broken dome, trying to force their way towards zone. And this time it's looking a little bit better for them, because all 3 of them are live. Lifeline also. Lou going to be using that. We saw the success that Amir had, especially Aurora with this a bit earlier.
Also, at the top of the screen, you can see the pick rate of today. Bangalore, a 90% pick rate in match 2. I would say that is a pretty meta character. But we are seeing a complete drop from Conduit. We've seen definitely a few, and we are kind of highlighting it because it's the early contest, but there's only 2 Conduits in the entire game. One Gibraltar, believe it or not, as well. A character that I think Alberlelli was promising JB some type of afternoon refreshment and maybe some pizza if he could fix by the weekend. It certainly is, but still not fully demanded yet. FURIA, by the way, demanding a little bit of space. They won't get it. They've gotten knocked down as well. Complexity, who are out early now with the lifeline, hopping on that train and holding down this building. Very, very strong. One of my favorite teams of this season in terms of their play and their communication. Complexity survived that one.
Yeah, very, very impressive, using the Nox gas grenade to throw it into the building to really discombobulate FURIA, who just had no answer. The Nox came in so quickly and so violently from Complexity. They fully sent it on that door, and they were able to immediately get the res as well, thanks to Lifeline, meaning that Kimchi wasn't out of the fight for too long and they could reset as quickly as possible. So now they own that building. Very, very smart rotate coming in from them to get to that building quickly and win that fight. XSET now, they're going to be playing the northern side. That choke towards Geyser. They're also kind of overextending a little bit towards the tracks as well, so they're demanding a lot of space from the lobby at the moment, trying to see if they can create any openings. There's any third parties to take a better spot from. Legacy and Sentinels stacked up inside of Big Mord as well, but elsewhere, just outside of Fragment in the no-name town, you've got E8 trying to have a little bit of a fight, and they've got the armor advantage.
Elevate's been impressive this season. A couple of Hemlock shots as well. Misses most of the burst, and that's just an easy tap onto Zach, but he should be able to stay alive. That caustic gas grenade, we had talked about it at the top. It actually has that 50% increase. I was wrong when I was mentioning that earlier, and it actually makes a big difference here, and that's one of the reasons why it's a level 2 perk. It's been so strong, but it's not strong enough to save Elevate Gaming. It was just too tough to take a 2v3 in that type of range, and despite the gas grenade going on and lingering afterwards, it just wasn't enough to deter the pressure, and that's going to be Zach Mazer and squad waiting till game 3 to get another chance at it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an ugly fight from Elevate, I have to say. Some missed shots, a little bit of they just had to expend the caustic ult, excuse me, to try and get the res, and then they kind of ran through it without really having a gun up and just got picked off very easily. It wasn't pretty. It's pretty simple to look at that Elevate and figure out what went wrong, because not a lot went right. It's kind of one of those, it's like, that was terrible, let's move on to the next game and think about it, because game 1 was very, very strong. I've been giving them a lot of credit for how good they've been and how consistent they've been throughout the weeks in the Pro League, but that wasn't a great moment for them there. That fight, very, very one-sided, and certainly could have been played a little bit more efficiently from the side of Elevate.
And I think that's a good call out as well. Sometimes you do take a bad fight, and you know, sometimes that's just all it's about, hitting your shots, but also just being in the bad position. That wide swing, it was confident, but it ultimately exposed Zach a little bit too much. They'll look to get that one back in game 3. Panders and Snipe down though, finding Avexes almost gets him down. The movement's enough to save him, and the Bangalore Rolling Thunder will also clear out the space in front near Climatizer. So FaZe as well having a chance. 3 points though, but they were involved in that early skirmish near Landslide. Didn't go their way. Were kind of cut down by the zone alongside XSET, and that ended up not going their way, but they have a chance here in game 2. Still on Blues. A team who is not though, and who has taken their sweet time, Mark. DSG, I mean, talk about the late rotators. They have always found themselves at the party after everybody else.
It is very interesting to actually talk about FaZe and their rotate for this game, because they land over at Geyser, and they're currently, you know, you look at where the zone's going, they would have had prior to zone in previous seasons, right? But they probably left Geyser with white armors, maybe just blues, and they're probably thinking, how can we go and get another Evo Harvester? How can we get ourselves into a position where we're actually a little bit more healthy and more likely to win some fights in the end game? Well, they've had to go over to Lava Siphon, which is where the nearest Evo Harvester is, and by doing so, now then find themselves having to take a fight that they probably previously wouldn't have, and also not having a prior position because other teams have out-rotated them and had a little bit of a quicker path to get to that zone thanks to the Evo they picked up. Speaking of Evo, by the way, DarkZero, you can see they're hitting everything. They are going to be more than likely double red by the time they arrive in zone. But these two teams have having a poke at each other for quite some time now, Sentinels and Legacy. Nobody really getting the advantage. You can see RKN's going to have to re-shield himself, but elsewhere, in Geyser, Eternal. Not really doing too much at the moment, but Purple Armors are looking pretty good.
I can understand too, being in Geyser not wanting to stay there. I mean, there's really not a lot of great positions to fight from Geyser. It's very building heavy. You have to kind of go into a full committed engagement if you're going to be poking. Unlike some of the other locations where you can kind of sit from afar on high and get a lot of damage. DarkZero, though, they haven't been worried about anything, partly because they're about 2 Evo levels ahead of anyone they're fighting right now. Zero up into the air. Let's see what happens when he comes down as we go into a listen-in with DarkZero.
Should be good.
They're just shooting at me.
They're not shooting me at all.
I'm Phoenixing.
I have a smoke in 6. We gotta make it up the hill.
I'm just gonna Phoenix it and then run
I
up.
spawned 2. Bang up. Bang up now.
Yeah. Popping one cell, then I'm going.
There's barrels fucking everywhere.
I'll go for wingman while we run up.
Okay, nice.
We're good. We're good. I'm gonna OpTic, so I have gold helm too.
There's a barrel. I slipped on a barrel. They're coming towards us.
Yeah, team truck.
They're in close stack now.
OpTic 7.
Paintball free.
It was a little bit earlier.
Listen to me. You need to care this team while I go scout. They have wingman as well.
Okay, watch out. There's a team in the caravan.
Okay, but is paintball free?
I'm OpTic 7.
Maybe. It was like kind of free earlier.
They're okay, I'm okay, I think.
Yeah, they're close.
I'm gonna scan them. North. Scanning north.
We're good, we're good. Okay, we gotta focus on maybe rotating here.
Alright.
There's a guy there. No.
Let's check out that area.
They're moving though.
He's going right, this guy.
Oh, scan caravan?
Yeah, not much from DarkZero there. We thought maybe a bigger fight, Mark, but they've just decided to move on. And it's the smart play. Sometimes waiting to fight another day means you get a chance to win it all, and that's certainly what DarkZero are after.
Yeah, especially when you got red armors that are purple, right? You could have taken that fight, but they prioritized getting ahead of that team and getting into a position that was safe for the next zone. So a smart decision once again from DarkZero. Zero deciding himself that was the play to make as we now move over to OpTic Gaming, who are inside of stacks at the moment, but not in the most comfortable positions. And by the way, the double big boys, you got Caustic and Gibby alongside Knocked on the Valkyrie. A little bit of an old OpTic throwback, it feels like.
I love it, man. And rocking the support again. This is the thing that OpTic really have done so well. Not only is Caustic so good in the hands of Skittlecakes, I think it's his best character by far. I think it's where OpTic feel the most consistent. Dropped on Gibby feels like a great spot for him, allowing him to help Skittlecakes not only do what he does in terms of setup and calling out for where these zones are going to end, but also have that kind of button press that something's going wrong. Let me here, make a good decision, and just give us some time, stall things out. Not only that, his perks have been changed, and they have really, I think, added to the efficacy of Gibraltar and what he can bring to the table. We'll jump back with OpTic later as we take a look at the overall perspective of these squads and jump in with Disguised right now, who are still placed 9th. 4 points to their name. Enemy, It's Timmy, and Designful rocking another unusual but very effective composition in Fuse and Wraith. So 2 different sides of the coin, both running atypical compositions for the lobby. But right back with OpTic Gaming, we'll see how their Gibraltar comp works.
Bubble's going to be forced, which means it's going to be burned. They won't be safe for the rotate, but they are safe inside of the zone. DarkZero eliminated in the meantime, by the way. And it's going to be XSET who will win in that fight. So XSET really fighting well today as we see DSG now make their move towards zone as well. But their portal isn't good by the looks of things. They're going to have to go back, and Timmy's going to go down to zone. So this is looking like a rough one for DSG. They're trying to fly through. EVYLUTION eliminated at the same time. Enemy's still alive once more. Get some barrels down. Are they going to be able to get the rest, though?
This could be huge. Can he grab one up? I mean, Timmy, just with a knuckle cluster, could buy enough time. And I think he will, and that's one of the benefits of that gas. You're thinking, oh, I wish I had breathed it in, maybe get a little bit of extra healing. That is when that perk would actually come into play here. But it's a situation you never want to plan for. Back against the wall, gas going, and the only thing keeping you from death is that. Fortified 15%. Less damage is not going to matter with Lowope actually cleaning it up. And they take out DSG, so that'll be that at the corner. And OpTic, meanwhile, the big boy composition has found themselves inside the building and pretty comfortable.
Yeah, really good rotate from OpTic as well, being able to cross outside from under that little bridge area just to the north inside of the building. It's going to be Meat Lovers who now have this position below them, but They're going to have to jump up over that fence line if they want to move or walk out into the open. So Meat Lovers are safe for now, but the next zone is where it becomes a problem for them. Let's see what their plan is going to be, though. It's good to see Tech back on Old Faithful, right? Old Faithful, old trusty. Tech is able to grief the lobby once again with that EMP, and I can guarantee you he's choosing the perk, which is going to give that EMP even more range.
Well, you know what's insane? I mean, that's one of the things that I was confusing earlier on. You know, Costa keeps that 50% that is shown in our graphics team doing an amazing job of showing why Particle Diffuser's been picked up. But Crypto, at the early outset of this season, actually had 50% extra range going for his EMP. It was massive, and before it actually came out, it was reduced to 25. That just lets you know that even the developers realized with just a few people testing, this thing would be crazy. So it's still super good. Tech back on where we love it. And, you know, it's always fun to see a few cryptos in there. Not the whole lobby, Mark. I can't go that far yet, but I think a few I'm okay with.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I see 20 EMPs going off in an end zone, I'll F4 in the game. It's as simple as that. Cream, however, they have worked their way underneath Big Mord, which gives them cover, of course, from a lot of Bangalore ultimates, from Gibby ultimates, and a lot of things coming down from the sky, but they've got so many angles to care about here that it's going to be a tough position to hold for quite some time. Sentinels, who have been here alongside Legacy for the long game, they're going to have an opportunity to pick up KP now, because teams are going to have to walk through the open, have to walk in towards this zone, and there's a lot of open spaces, because as you can see in stacks, all of the buildings are taken.
I know we're looking at a lot of fights here, and it is important to keep track of this as well. And Mark, you're rightly saying, buildings taken, there's not a lot of real estate. Teams are going to be stuck outside and having to get in these positions where Nine Lives, they're realizing we got to fight, there's nothing else for us. But a team that has stayed pretty consistent, hasn't been contested, and is on the edge of this is Complexity. I know we mentioned this, but they're in between two very difficult spots, one towards Meat and all of the other squads of OpTic sitting in there. However, on the other side is a dangerous squad of Moist Esports. Now, they may need a team from Big Mod like Legacy or Sentinels, who are sitting up there, to make Moist Esports have an issue on their early rotate, because they'll be out first. But Complexity, if somehow they can make it in underneath, are sitting in a very good spot in terms of pressure. They will not be the first team to be looked at, hopefully, but it's just a matter of still having to cross this danger zone, and not many have made the journey and stayed alive to talk about it.
If you want to know something fascinating about, say, how unpredictable I think a lot of the teams see this end zone, I mean, Moist Esports were backing on it going towards the broken building, right? They were there first. This is their POI. This is the zone that they thought they've seen before. Well, up until about 5 seconds ago, there were 0 teams inside of this zone. Reason being, there's barely anywhere to play that has cover. So I think any team that has artificial cover, and I'm talking about Gibraltar here, might be in a good spot to maybe have an impact on this endgame by just being able to survive a little bit longer than some of the other compositions we're going to see. So OpTic, even though they have a rough rotate, they're on the quick side of zone, and they have to travel quite some distance. If they can do so, that Gibby bubble could be absolutely massive for them.
Yeah, and I think he's got a fresh start here, so he's going to get 50 HP on the revive for his teammates if they do go down. He hasn't got his level 3 perked yet as well, which is important. It could either go for Baby Bubble or Bunker Bubble, which would make it bigger and last longer, but he may not stay alive to be able to do it. This is Complexity moving in inside of them, and that's what we were hoping. Maybe it would be someone like OpTic to take them and give them the promised land by just turning all eyes towards them, but it was Moist who made it in. Waltzy and Gildersons representing 2 out of the 3 and picking up the 3rd and empty. They were the ones that survived that barren land, and now with 6 squads remaining, have a chance to win it.
Gil just holding the angles at the moment, but here comes the Bangalore ultimates from above. They have the cover above them now as they take down Cream. And now they own all of this ground underneath Big Mord. There are teams above them, but there's also a Kraber in the kill feed as well. And MT is going to tell his 2 teammates about that, because he just felt a bullet to the dome.
Luckily, they have the smoke going. They're trying to stabilize. That's been the issue, and it's been such a hard thing to do. Legacy has been pressuring out. They've been poking outside. It's been really risky for Legacy, but they actually do what they needed to do. They get rid of Moist, and that opens up the rotation for Legacy when they have to eventually make their way out of Big Mod. Sentinels above them, and so that's going to be something that they're hoping that Eternal on the outside, you can see McLovin, Kosi, Carter, are trying to maybe have shots at Sentinels above them and wait their time, but there's not a lot of time, and there's only 2 seconds left. Bangalore ultimate in hand. Yanya throws it, and this is their moment, Mark. They've got to make a move.
Yeah, timing's everything here for them, though. You can see the Bangol's going to go down. They're trying to damage Sentinels on their way down from the high ground, which means that they can open up, they can clean up the damage, and then they own the southern side of this zone. The only problem is that they're going to have to think about meat lovers who are inside of the dome at the moment, but I don't think they're close enough to really cause a problem. Sentinels versus Legacy has been something that's been a story for quite some time, and even though Sentinels are still alive, they're trying to stick a mobile respawn, I believe, to get themselves back in the game. Nobody wants to make a move whatsoever, as we're looking like we're going to finish just outside of paintball. Sentinels are eliminated, though, and it's Legacy who finally win that fight.
Very impressed by just Sentinels staying alive that long, but I'm very worried that there was no movement from EEC to try to find Legacy on that rotation. It felt like they were playing a little bit cautiously, as well as me. Can they stay and get a W here? You would hope that that's what they do. They don't let Legacy run into this. Yanya is going to go down. Niazul and Jaguar is still alive, though, and with a Caustic, anything can happen, but it's meat lovers who wait. And they find themselves an easy victory and let the prey come to them here in game number 1.
Breathe it in, ladies and gents. Breathe it in. The Nox gas is what changes the game in that end game. You can see Legacy were just stuck in 2, I think it was, caustic golds, and just couldn't get out of it. Can't move, taking HP damage as soon as those shields get broken. You know it's going to be game over for them. So, I mean, it's a really good kind of illustration of what every legend is offering at the moment, right? It's like caustic in the end game. We're seeing different things. We're seeing Gibby as well. It's honestly, it's fascinating. I think it's the most interesting it's been to watch Apex in quite some time because of the varied legends and compositions that we're having and how they're affecting games.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a very big, there's a bit of a power struggle at the top, too. I think everyone knows this is on display. Not only are we playing it, this is the first time it counts. We've done scrims, but people, you know, take that with a grain of salt because sometimes scrims, they do inform you of what people are thinking, but not actually how they'll play that composition in the day. And that's kind of one of the perils of scrims. That's what we see players talk about that maybe they're not always excited about, but they're also saying, well, it's worth the practice even if things go differently. Now we get to see actual wins from Lifeline. We saw a Lifeline team win overall in Aurora in the day over the series, but today we've seen teams like Lifeline and Complexity, they didn't quite make it through. Caustic's not quite making it through when paired with the Gibby, although it looked good for a while with OpTic, and OpTic have performed well today over the course of 2 games. So now it's just a question of what really prevails, Mark, and I think we're going to learn that as we continue on. Game 2 is, you know, only a little bit of a sample size, but as we go into the next 4, we're definitely learning what North America has brought to the table, and variety, it seems to be, is the name of the game.
Yeah, and I kind of love the end zones that we've had so far as well. I'm usually a bit of a sucker for like end zones that in a POO have built up areas where everyone can coexist until those final moments. And you really see kind of the gray matter of teams and IGLs being tested about how they kind of navigate that traffic. But we've had 2 zones that have just been in the open. Like there's barely been anywhere to play for teams for the long game. So it's been about kind of wiping one side of the zone and hoping you can walk in and then take a 3v3 engagement a little bit later on. We're seeing sort of 3 or 4 teams alive in end zones, which is not normally what we see. But congratulations to Meat Lovers. Again, I have to commend Tech because of the fact that it's been once again the controller roundabout for them. Another player out, another player in, but proving again that they can still win games of Apex, and an impressive performance in that end game to show that once more.
Well, match 2, we've got our results ready for you to view. Meat Lovers take the win, a 19-pointer with Legacy right behind, taking 2nd place overall. That extra 2 points bumps them up, which would have been Eternals if they had held back, maybe played a little bit more aggressive. They were fine with what they did, and I can see why. 20 points, they ultimately win the lobby in terms of points in game 2. So a big shout out to Eternal and how they decided to approach that. Sentinels as well in a 4th place position with 11 points, and Moist rounded out with 5 for your top 5. Notably Complexity, although they didn't make it into the top 5, have 7 points alongside Tempr in the bottom 10 with 5 points. So those are really the standouts outside of placement. But in terms of maybe not the best performances, Disguise XSET getting a few points, but DarkZero with a big goose egg, Mark.
Yeah, DarkZero, a goose egg for them, and it was actually XSET who took them out. Those 2 kills that went to the side of XSET were on DarkZero members. I think it was just DarkZero having to force a fight, trying to take a fight to get their way towards the zone, towards paintball, but XSET slowed that down, and then it ended up essentially costing both teams because DarkZero couldn't win that fight. XSET, by having to take that fight, lost their rotate and became vulnerable, having taken the damage. So the fight for the North choke was what decided the fate of both of those. But again, OpTic inside of the top 10. Very good from them. FURIA fell to Complexity with that strong push that we saw from them a little bit earlier on. And Elevate, a game to forget. I think that's one of those that's very uncharacteristic for Elevate so far this season. And if I'm them, I'm saying, hey, that was just forget about it. Let's just go into game 3.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a bad fight, no name, and then all of a sudden you're out, and you're just waiting this entire time to even get back into it. So brush it off. Great advice for Elevate. We'll see if they take it. Meat Lovers, Legacy, and Eternal EC. Those are your top 3 teams here in the North American ALGS. Day 6 so far. 2,000 damage for Meat Lovers, Legacy 3,000, and let's just add another 1,000 the further back we go. It seems like Eternal with 4K onset. I mean, they popped off in this game, and you can see that was a big one for them, and especially being able to hold it down with the traditional meta lineup we're seeing with Bangalore, Bloodhound, and Costa.
Yeah, very impressive from them. As we take a look at the series results now, how things look after 2 games are done and dusted, and it's Legacy actually who rides to the top. 2 consistent end game involved, I would say, performances from them. Puts 30 points on the board for them. 17 kills, by the way, in 2 games. Well played, Legacy. Eternal in second place after that good performance, and after their game 1 win, DarkZero, of course, in third, followed by Meat Lovers, who won that previous game. But you're looking at, I'm always looking for the point sponge, right? And at the moment, it's Legacy who look like they have the opportunity to do it. However, just 2 games gone. We've got a long way to go yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Eternal might actually have more kills than this, just as a heads up, because I know they had 13 kills, I believe, in that last matchup. We were just looking at 5, 6, and 1. So that would actually put us in maybe them doing a very, very standout performance after 2. We'll take a look at that when we come back, of course, as more action continues here in the North American ALGS. We will be right back with Game 3.
Welcome back, everybody. Game 2 is done and dusted, and we've got a new winner. Meat Lovers coming to the fore with their new pickup, and it's good to see them returning to a little bit of form, Dan, because like many people out there, I am indeed a lover of meat.
As I would expect from you on set, you're a large man who needs to eat his protein, but Meat Lovers, they've been through it all, but even in recent scrims with a sub, they were able to find success, so I'm not surprised. There is certainly a good recipe there. They just need to find all of the ingredients, and maybe this can be the final form of the Meat Lovers, or maybe, you know, another player will just get poached. Who knows? But match 3 is soon to be underway. It's going to be World's Edge for one last time, but we're starting to see a few patterns emerge. A couple of teams are starting to show consistency here, but it's whether it can carry on through the entire day.
Final game on World's Edge then, about to get underway as we take a look at the compositions that are going to be picked up and who's going to be picking who and all of that kind of good stuff as well. We're seeing that contest probably going to be repeated as well, considering that it's tied up at 1-1. But just looking across some of the end games that we've seen so far, OpTic have been there and thereabouts, Dan. I think that's an important thing to note for OpTic fans, and obviously the Green Wall is extremely loud and strong when it comes to social media and of events themselves, and they're going to be very happy so far, I think, with the 2 games that they've seen from their team.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see whether they can carry on, and I like that they're throwing the Gibby into the mix as well. I think that Gibraltar certainly has a part to play in this meta. We might see a few creep up as the season goes on and as ALGS continues as well. So we'll have to see whether Gibraltar can make more of an impact as we get towards the late game. They weren't able to get to level 3 and get to the purple Evo shields to see Gibby choose between the bubbles, but maybe it'll happen in this game.
Well, let's see if the contests continue then for our final game here on World's Edge, and let's see if there's anything a little bit different. If we see maybe a few different teams changing where they're going to be landing. Ape Gang going elsewhere down. They're going towards Mirage.
Yeah, it's quite funny. In the pre-game chat, Ape Gang weren't very happy with Oversleepers, but it seems like their happiness has led them away from the fight. But we'll have to see whether they go back for more later. But there is still a fight happening at Countdown.
It certainly is indeed, and we're already going to see damage being done, and we're going to see Cloak going down here for Tempr, who I would say have had a bit of a learning experience so far in the Pro League. It's been a big ask for them, of course, qualifying through challenges, and they struggled a little bit up until this point, but every single game that goes down and every single bit of experience they get under their belt, they're going to move forward as a squad, and for now, they're going to find out there's a player on the door, but surprise, surprise, there's another one coming in from behind as we move back over to Ape Gang, and we take a look at Mirage.
Yeah, and the downside for 9 Lives is this means that now they lose part of their loot pool, right? 9 Lives have been taking Lava Fisher and Mirage Etoile, so Ape Gang now taking that away from them. That might annoy 9 Lives, but we will get the resolution of that fight as we come back to it, and it is going to be Cream taking the crop. And unfortunately for Tempr, they find themselves in 20th.
Like, I got to apologize for both me and Dan, because when they do something good, it's too easy. It's too... all right, do you want to like virtually shake hands that we never say that for the rest of the split?
All right, okay, deal.
I cross my fingers. I'm sorry, I can't trust myself to not do that. Anyway, let's have a look at Zone. Good news for XSET. Good news for Sentinels. This is going to be a zone they have great prio to, and I think most importantly for XSET as well. They forced away the contest by the looks of things. Plus, there's the Evo Harvester just there in Fragment, which they might be able to pick up if they're quick about it.
Speaking of quick, look at Sentinels. They are moving. They are grooving. They had Ring Console and they had a Survey Beacon, so they should be up to blue. And they're going to be probably residing somewhere in Fragment, you'd have to imagine, based off of their circle knowledge. They could, if they want, go down to kind of the no-name area below, which has the Survey Beacon, but I think that's more of a risk at being contested at the moment because they know GeySer and FaZe are going to be so close. FaZe equally had the Ring Console information, so they're moving fast, and it looks like actually FaZe are going to win that race. They could hold out Sentinels depending on what position they find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at POIs that are surrounding, that are closest for a rotate, and you got Harvester and GeySer, and both those had Ring Consoles, and who sent a zone? OpTic and FaZe. So surprise, surprise, both of them getting that info, decide to rotate as quickly as possible to get into spots they believe are going to be there for the end game. So once again, you just see it's a very simple thing, right? You hit the Ring Console, you do a little bit of Evo harvesting elsewhere, so to speak, a couple of perk bins, maybe a couple of care packages. It means you get blues. Both teams, you would imagine, will have blues, and they're both in prior positions.
Unlikely to see them get to purples, though, until potentially late game if any fights come their way, because they're not going to be doing any sort of Evo harvesting now. We're not going to be able to see them pushing for any harvesters or even any bins, and even damage is going to be difficult to come through from the positions they find themselves in. So sorry, Rain Day, we may not see what that level 3 choice is going to be for the Gibraltar again in this game, but who knows, maybe if they get to late game, it might just happen.
Scan every single care package you can see from the sky and hope that maybe 5 or 6 more fall than they normally do. Complexity on their way, as they're going to be using a bit of a redeploy, and they're going to be playing no name here. So interesting to see this is their choice, and maybe it's not just a choice of the fact that they have zone, they believe this is where it's going, but it also allows other teams to stack up inside a Fragment. So if it does pull towards Fragment, then maybe they can work their way in from one of the sides and kind of clear that side of zone as everyone else is fighting inside of it. So Complexity making that choice, turn them inside of the building, as it's affectionately known, Streamer building. And OpTic still holding down the train tracks. Elsewhere, DarkZero, they're not bothered about getting to zone. They know this is a long way for them to go, and I'm sure that they're just taking their time to do trials. They also have a Ring Console, a Survey Beacon, and Skyhook West as well, so that's almost guaranteed purples for them. They also might have a Vault Key, because they're going through the tunnel as well. They also can go to Countdown and get a Ring Console. Honestly, they've got a pretty good rotate and good pathing to get those Evos up.
Trials is superior, but we did see in game number 2, DarkZero weren't really able to take full advantage of it because when they made their rotation, sadly they were taken down as they went through the choke. Interestingly about Complexity, by the way, we see them on the Lifeline. We saw the success of Lifeline throughout EMEA, but what's different is Complexity haven't necessarily been playing Edge like we saw Aurora do with the Lifeline. So that means they're not getting to level 3, they're not getting to the purple, which means you're not getting the care package, which arguably is one of the most important perks for Lifeline. Yes, you might be able to get to purple in the late game if you're able to have some fights, if you're able to play zone and perhaps someone else can scan some packages as you were talking about, but it's less likely to happen, and maybe why we're not seeing as much success from Complexity on the Lifeline.
1,600 Evo for DarkZero's 0 to get himself up to red, and they're going to get another 200 odd, you would imagine, by hitting this survey beacon in just a few moments time as well. Just trying to see what else they've got near them. They've got an Evo Harvester near them as well. I'm pretty sure they would have hit that on the way past. Jim Burton's already up to red. So we mentioned their path in and the route they've chosen to take. You can see exactly why they've done it, right? They're going to be approaching this from Epicenter. They're going to be coming in from the northern side of Fragment, but they're going to be able to fight anyone and feel confident. I mean, they would fight anyone and feel confident even if they had white armors, but the fact that they've got Gem with a red, Sykes and Zero already on purple, and the rest of the lobby is pretty much on blues, just looking to, I mean, great indication here, right? Teams still arriving in Fragment. Everyone's got blues. DarkZero might be able to just pick a spot, pick a fight, and go, hey, we'll fight you for it.
One of the teams you don't want to be going up against at the moment is Legacy. They are #1 in the leaderboards, and they have been finding kills comfortably in matches 1 and 2. They did try and get a bit aggressive here, but they're not able to necessarily get the damage they wanted to. It's Oversleepers that are on the other side. And actually, look at this push from Oversleepers. All 3 of them with the Conduit Q pushing up, but they get pushed back down. You can see it's not just Legacy that were there. Oversleepers should be able to reset, but they have to be careful.
Yeah, should be able to reset pretty comfortably here, but that might have given an opening to Legacy if they wanted to take it, but they might have taken a little bit of damage to themselves crossing, and they did indeed. You can see Neasels hasn't had the chance to pop those white meds. You've got OpTic poking them as well. They want to try and get inside of this building, but OpTic are kind of harassing them at the moment. They don't want them to walk up those stairs unchallenged. If they can take one player down, then you know OpTic are going to be sending it. There's flash damage already, and you can see it's going to be Vodary who's going to take down Neasel. So all of a sudden, Oversleepers come back for more.
Yeah, Jaguares has gone down as well, so it looks like Legacy may fall here, and Oversleepers have done very well to get aggressive at the right time. Just 1 remaining for Legacy, and even though they are in the #1 spot, this might allow other teams to start to catch up if we see them fall here, but it has not been a full squad wipe just yet. There is still a chance for the Legacy to continue.
Trying to just keep an eye on what's happening elsewhere for you to keep you up to date outside of zone, as we see Oversleepers moving in to clean up the final pieces and get that loot. Beat Lovers are moving their way through Geyser at the moment, outside of zone elsewhere. Elevate or around Epicenter. Disguise are taking a long route to make sure that they're going to be fully armored up heading into this end game as well. They've moved all the way through thermal to staging to landslide to countdown. Now they're going up to the position that DarkZero went a few moments ago to hit that survey beacon. So a lot of Evo is going to be gathered just by the way they've pathed themselves towards his zone.
You can see survey beacons being scanned by squads. It was another reason why I thought maybe Complexity were going to head down towards No Name, because it's more open areas. They can get the survey beacon scan potentially, but also if they get up to purple, Lifeline packages are going to be easier to grab in No Name rather than the kind of chaos that's happening at the moment in the center of the map near Fragment. Just to touch on DarkZero as well, and we're talking about their rotation, we're talking about how good they are at moving through and their pathing to get the most shields. Game 2 was more difficult because of the chokes they had to go through. Their positioning in Game 3 here, there's a lot more open areas for DarkZero to work with, which means that they can use their shield advantage to take fights, and probably more isolated fights, rather than forcing themselves through choke points and being griefed by a lot of squads. So this is a good chance for DarkZero to pick up big points again. You can see Gem Burton's on red, so they have done what we would expect from DarkZero. They've been doing it in scrims, they've been doing it here today, and they are rewarded with their paths.
Yeah, another very obvious thing to say is they land at Trials and it was down at Big Maud, the zone. That's pretty much as far as you have to possibly go if you DarkZero to try and get your way into the zone. So a little bit of a rough one for them, but certainly still got some KP alongside it. Meat Lovers now, the winners of our previous game on World's Edge, will be safe in this next zone, and it looks like we might be pulling away from Fragment, which I gotta say, Dan, like, as a player, I would hate it. As a viewer, I love it. Because it just means that everyone has to leave.
One team who maybe saw this coming was Sentinels, right? They had that ring console information, arguably one of the first teams to have ring console information from Overlook, and they kind of positioned themselves between Overlook and Fragment, and now find themselves dead center of that zone. So perhaps they had a better read of where that circle may be going.
Isaac, the new pickup. Having a retreat with his teammates here just to avoid that Bangalore ult. It's going to be SSG who are on the other side as well. And SSG were pretty deep into overlooking zone a few moments ago. You wonder if they were thinking about hitting that ring console that is there. Excuse me, is it a ring console survey beacon? My eyes deceive me. Pretty sure it's a one of the two. I'm not going to commit. There was something over the top of it in the kill feed. But elsewhere, you're seeing E8 being held out at the moment by DarkZero. And this is tough for EA. You can see the armor difference, and this is what DarkZero want. An isolated fight on edge where they know they have an armor advantage. Yeah,
DarkZero have been annoying Elevate for quite some time, and now the circle is going to play a part here for Elevate. They're going to have to move. You could see that the evac tower has just been dropped, but you can see just from the map here that DarkZero are taking pops towards them to try and shoot them out of the sky. Elsewhere, FURIA getting aggressive, and it is going to be the Remainders and Legacy back up, but it looks like FURIA are going to try and take them right back down.
Madness got a wingman as well, so only one shot really going to be needed. But Keon will go down, and so will Madness. So forget about the wingman, because nobody gets to fire many bullets, because Legacy absolutely slap them in that 3v3. That is impressive.
Maybe a little bit of help from other parties, but certainly they did the job, and we know that's what Legacy are capable of, right? They are a great fighting team. Jaguares goes down, though, so it's still just two of them that are going to be able to fight against potentially Moist, who could be pushing them. 9 Lives also in the area. Oversleepers looking at all these southern teams who are now realizing that their rotation is going to be difficult are starting to get more aggressive.
Moist are having a look at this. They want to clean this up. They want to at least make sure that that kill is finished. Elsewhere, you saw DarkZero did get a couple of kills onto E8, excuse me. They still have one player alive. DarkZero is still holding that one player out, by the way, but everyone else is moving from this southern side. Legacy, Moist now scarpering their way down to this building. And I tell you what, it might be a little bit ballsy if they go for this, but there is going to be a survey beacon on top of this building. I don't think they're going to go for it. It might be a little bit of a hurry-carry, but we'll see if they decide to smoke it and go for it. It'd be pretty crazy to get up to purples.
Pretty crazy, but I mean,
it would be dumb. Let's be real.
If it happened, who knows? But yeah, it's one of those that they probably won't go for, because even if you do smoke it, teams nowadays, they know where that survey beacon is. Frex is down for SSG, so they're just fighting, excuse me, as a 2, and they're not going to be able to get his banner by the looks of things. 9 Lives are struggling a little bit, trying to back away again, using that smoke just to try and hide, but it's Eternal on the other side of things.
By the way, Legacy are just kind of mowing everyone. At the moment, you can see Eternal taking damage, really struggling to stay a part of this fight. It was 9 Lives who were escaping initially, and that was the go button for Legacy to move back in. Yanya gets to finish as well with his ARG star, and now they're going to be able to play under this bridge, and it looks like 9 Lives will be eliminated by the looks of things, unless one managed to just escape for a few seconds. But I mean, Legacy once again just holding things down. Eternal taken out as well, and the kill leader is going to be Yanya now. So Legacy picking up kills, picking up the wingman as well that they won from that fight against FURIA, and they once again coming towards the end game, have a wingman and look dangerous.
It's funny because earlier Yanya was the last remaining player. I said maybe the Legacy continue, and boy has he kept that Legacy running for his team. They're in a difficult spot under this bridge right now, as one of them is going to fall, and again this could be the end, but they've got out of stickier situations. Jaguares is going to be the last remaining player here as the Caustic, and again difficult to push a Caustic, but there is a lot of damage coming through, and sadly they cannot get any further than top 15.
Yeah, you can just see the Nox gas grenade again. It's just chipping away at the health, and it's so kind of difficult and oppressing as an ultimate, especially on that blue perk, knowing that you're going to get that extra little bit of distance and that extra bit of coverage from it. It's so difficult to get out of unless you are the Caustic itself, but even then you're going to be ticking away and taking that damage. But Disguise now have somehow managed to kind of creep around all of this, approaching from the northern side. DarkZero are going to be on the tracks kind of closest to them. XSET just underneath them as well, and inside of that little train carriage you can see in front of you right now is going to be Complexity.
Still arguably the team with the best position at the moment, though, is Sentinels. They're in a train cart that they have to work with as well, but it's going to be further east than the one you were talking about from Complexity, and the circle still pulling that way, and it is going to be ending in quite some open space, that's for sure. And OpTic are going to be looking to make their move ASAP here. Now, they do have the Gibraltar, and we'll have to see how they play this one, and what better way to get info than a listening with OpTic Gaming.
Do we go for under if they go for it? No, they're going under, they're going under.
Yeah, I'm going for it, ready to bubble.
I'm going to bubble instantly. I'm bubbling.
I'm playing on you, bubble.
Got it.
Ready, get the ultis, guys. Yeah, they just bang ulted us.
Okay, are we fighting west?
We gotta keep ulting off us, probably. They should get 30 from the 3 pills. Overlook is gonna stare at us, so...
I'm giving ulting them.
I'm nading them.
This rock here.
Yeah, they're getting fucked, they're getting fucked.
Straight on him. Play for these skills.
Play on Skittles. Play on Skittles. If you crouch on Skittles, we're safe.
I think we swing around on the right. Do you agree?
I'm stunned by to give you all. Okay, I'm coming. On the right in the gas, I think.
Healing. Shoot on. Bang. One dead.
What on one.
Another team. I'm batting. They're zipping across. Play backside.
I cracked this bang.
Clear this. Get a Costicle on this corner. Costicle in the corner. Play the fucking side. Nice. Play in or not.
Another one down there.
He climbed up. Knock. He got shot. Bangalore on us. 2 of them.
Maybe playing the pills.
I mean, Nox is doing everything he can for OpTic at the moment. They took that Valcolt, they landed, Bubble went down. They were able to eliminate one team, but Nox has kind of held off the entire lobby on his own, and now he's sent a zone.
He's in a good position, but he might just get spotted out. And of course, in a very heavy Bloodhound meta, the likelihood of surviving as a rat is very slim. But I tell you what, distance from this vault, absolutely shredding at the moment, Noct is. And I guess we should expect it. We know what Noct is capable of, but now it's just a matter of trying to stay quiet here and hoping you can get into the top 5, if not further. But Sentinels still alive. EVYLUTION, Complexity, SSG, Meat Lovers, Cream, and OpTic Gaming. That's just 7 teams that are still left in this game.
One team who were eliminated as well was DarkZero. In the meantime, we just did see DSG go down. It was just before that DarkZero were eliminated. And this fight for the northern side of the zone could be so important, because if you can be the winner, essentially, of this ridge, just where we find Complexity at the moment, you can walk down from height, you can walk into those bins, and you have those first shots when it comes to that end zone. So whoever wins that fight is going to be in a great position, and at the moment it looks like Complexity are winning it. Meat Lovers might think about trying to take it off of them, but that's a risky play.
Sentinels are pushing on to EVYLUTION at the moment, and Meat Lovers also are taking a fight. You can see that the EMP is attempting to come down. The Hyzek is going to actually do a lot of damage here with the Vault, as have many people today, but it's not going to be enough. Meat Lovers fall, as do EVYLUTION. 5 squads now remain.
Sentinel's just down to 1, RKN down to 1 HP himself. We'll be able to pop this medkit, you would imagine, to at least keep him alive, and should be able to maybe gain a placement point or 2. But there's 3 rats, and if Complexity can clear a couple of these, then this might be Complexity's game to take. Just to put this into perspective, actually, by the way,
there's 4 rats.
There's 4 rats and Complexity.
This should be Complexity's game. However, if all the rats combine, right, to make a rat Megazord,
a mega rat,
it can definitely happening.
Yeah. Good work from the observers, by the way. One's dead. That was OpTic eliminated. Noct is out. Right, who's next? Is that hide and seek for Complexity?
Complexity can decide who gets points here. It's kind of crazy. They just have to pick one out one by one. They don't have the Bloodhound, which is a very important part of this. They don't really know what they're going up against.
I'm going to say it makes it so much better.
And if you are a solo here, unless you've got someone who has been tracking the kill feed and tracking how many players are alive, you might not even know that you're only going up against one potential full 3. There is huge points available for some of these teams, and they could be points differences that could really help maybe later get you to LAN. Because we've seen teams get to LAN with only, what, a couple points more than the team below them.
This might be one of my favorite endgames in ALGS history. 1 full team and 4 rats. Never seen it before. Season 20 is surprising us in ways that we couldn't have predicted ourselves. Lou's got to be careful.
Hold on, Lou.
Could end up having 5 rats here. A 1v1v1v1v1. SSG eliminated in the meantime. They do survive, and now it's just a case of finding the last 2 players here for Complexity. Surely this is their game.
Lifeline back on top. That's what I like to see. It happen in EMEA, and is it happening in NA? They weren't really able to get the benefit of Lifeline, certainly from the Kirk package, but we've said her kit is so impressive and really can help out with the early game as well. Big nades onto Lou again, who just keeps taking that damage, whilst RKN is staring at the ground at the moment, just trying to stay alive. He's more than happy to stay out of this, but he has been spotted, and Cream get eliminated, and RKN now in a 1 versus 3.
Punch him. It's the only way to win this game. Instead, it's going to be Complexity. He used the Vault. It's an easy endgame for them, but I have to say, navigated pretty well, because they wouldn't really have known the situation they find themselves in. And it was, of course, winning the fight for that Northern Ridge that really did win them the game. So Complexity a team who have been a lot of fun to watch so far this season. Keep up the good vibes with a win here on World's Edge.
I'm glad we came back and you're trying to do exactly the same thing I am. This wire just won't stay behind my bloody shoulder. But it's just going to sit there now. Everyone's going to have to deal with it. Sentinels, by the way, they moved to that position right from the get-go from Overlook, and they were able to take that position. So credit to them for picking up a second place. But that's what happens when you get circles like that. It was manic, and so many teams losing players that we end up with 4 solos going up against a full 3. But hats off to Complexity. They also made that rotation where they were able to dive in, take a spot, and they kept working their way through, and they take first place.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Complexity. Again, like I mentioned, I'll be straight up with everyone here. Coming into this season, I looked at this Complexity lineup and I was a little bit like, can't quite see the firepower here. Lose moving to controller, kind of just deciding he's going to go full time on that. Kimchi was the coach. He's obviously an incredibly talented player, but I think one thing that it teaches all of us, right, is there's more to a game than just natural ability. There's chemistry as well. We know how much these 3 boys want to do it for each other, right? They really want to perform for each other, and Complexity showing that they've got the skill to match that chemistry at the moment, and they've been one of my favorite teams to watch so far this split. We'll take a look at the match results as well to see where the points ended up going and who managed to pick them up, as well as those placements, of course. But who's been your favorite team to watch so far this split? I know there's like throwing it at you there as we bring the match 3 results up. Who are you?
We talking North America? I guess we are, because we're in a North American show, right? I mean, I like the fact that Complexity are playing Lifeline, but I sound like a DarkZero fanboy, but I love the way that they approach the game. It doesn't matter what season.
The team that's on top. Fantastic to hear from you, Dan. Always could have just done it for you. Complexity 5 kills to give them the 17 points. Sentinels are very impressive as well with that second place finish. But Cream, I think the surprise package, shall we say, almost, Dan, and everyone at home, ready? Cream almost rose to the top, but couldn't quite get there. It felt disgusting to say that, and I love it.
Can't believe you broke our promise, but you did say you had your fingers crossed. That's understandable. Ape Gang moving away from the contest.
DarkZero, Dan. I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, ooh.
Ape Gang move away from the contest and are able to pick up 4 kills, so at least put 5 points on the board. And as I said earlier, if you have a bad game, if you can at least put 4 or 5 points on the board, you're going to be a little bit more happy. The same for Legacy. I mean, it looked like Legacy were going to be fighting the entire world. They only come out of it with 4 points in the end, but remember, they were down to just 1 and got back up to a full 3. So again, they will take that, and then more 0-point games for the likes of Tempr, who sadly just haven't really been able to get going.
And not quite been able to get going. A little bit quiet for FURIA so far today as well. A couple of fights that we've seen them lose Rain Day, but an impressive performance for Complexity. And I've got to ask you, can you remember an endgame in ALGS history that was as weird as that one?
No, I was going go Rat Rangers. I was hoping for an evolution. I was hoping for a combination somehow to take on the bad guy. Complexity, though, they weren't going to lose that one. And you guys had mentioned them. I just wanted to comment before we move into our next segment here on Complexity. I did like a VOD review kind of video on them a little earlier in the season, maybe a few weeks ago, and watched one of their wins that they ended up having where they were kind of holding back Disguised. And it was one of the best showcases of team communication I've seen. I think chemistry is the right word. For Complexity, one thing I noticed about their composition, not just the fact that they were familiar with each other, but they were willing to throw an idea out and have dissent. It was a calm kind of dissent where I don't agree with you, but I'll do it. And they would wait and wait. And then that would also inform Lou to say, you know what, all right, let's not do it. Or just the fact that they were willing to say that and still do it anyway lets them know, okay, this plan is kind of there, but we're just going to commit to it. It was the willingness to not just be quiet, let one person lead, but also because of their camaraderie, really have a conversation about what is the best plan of action. So for me, not only are they fun, not only are they running like Sentinels and doing great stuff, man, also playing Lifeline. I just love listening to those guys, and they're great human beings as well. Kimchi Lu, and of course, Monsoon. So shout outs to them. Big highlight on Complexity there, but there's a lot of teams to highlight over the last 3 games we saw. World's Edge is complete, but we'll be transitioning to Stormpoint. But to break down what's happened on World's Edge, we need an expert to come join us on halftime. As we always do, we bring in one of the most beloved pros in the scene, Rambo. Of Native. What's up, Rambo? Florida man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, boys. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, man. Stoked to be on here.
You know, we love it. And, you know, we mentioned earlier, we were talking to you, you got the custom made kunai and the Bloodhound axe in the back. You know, Florida man, born and raised, living in Canada right now. So you're adjusting to the weather climates. I kind of want to just leave a softball open to you to start this off is in terms of the season, how have you been adjusting, obviously with native, but also looking at kind of what's next for the season for you guys? How has kind of season 19 been? And also looking ahead with season 20, what we've seen so far. You know, how are you feeling about the prospect of these new character changes, these new perks, and how that's going to impact your game?
Yeah. You know, I think I mentioned it to you guys earlier. You know, I think the game was in I don't want to say it was like stale, but, you know, I think some changes needed to be made to progress the game and to, you know, make it like a better viewer experience and everything like that. And definitely with season 20, I think the devs, you know, hit it right on the spot with everything, making it, you know, with the Evo harvester changes and, you know, some of the character changes. I think it really reignited the game in a good way and made it really exciting to watch and to play. And yeah, and as far as, you know, native, with native, it hasn't, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say it was a little bit of a disappointment right now with where we stand. But, you know, I've never been one to throw in the towel or, you know, get sad and stuff. So we got 2 more game days left and then regional. So I'm always remain hope. And I'm really confident going in. I think we've been playing our best Apex. So I'm excited to get back at it with the boys.
I love that for you. And I want to jump in here and ask a quick question because it's kind of relative to native in your team, a little bit of what I was talking about with XSET and OpTic, right? They've had a little bit of a, shall we say, by their own standards, a bit of a slow start to this split, right? But season 20 comes along and it's almost like you have to completely rethink your game, right, as a team. And it kind of gives you that spark. Is that what you found as a team as well? It's like, not only do we have to, you know, maybe change something, but the fact that we've got the season 20 as well, it's like, okay, we can reapproach how we want to approach the game and see what we can come up with. And it gives you a little bit more energy in life.
Oh, dude, totally. I think it's like super refreshing. We also, you know, picked up a new player. You know, we did a little roster spot mid-season, and I think that's really going to spark us too. But yeah, man, it's a totally different game now. You know, it's still the same old Apex, but you kind of have to take the game, you know, a different like a different way of playing it, so on and so forth, I guess you could say. So yeah, man, we're looking forward to the challenge, and we're going into the good mindset, and you know, not worrying about the past, and just, you know, trying to play our best going forward, I guess you could say.
Well, now, Rambo, I get to ask you the important questions. I'm growing my hair out, and I'm curious if you could give me some tips. No, I'm only joking. Let's talk through the final circles now, Rambo. Of course, you are an expert. You're a pro player. You were watching the games on the sidelines. Talk me through match 1 on what you may have seen and kind of what your thoughts were going through this final circle.
Yeah, well, you know, match 1, I don't know who's writing the script and giving DZ 2 cravers, but don't need to let that happen again. But no, in all seriousness, you know, I'm actually a really big fan of this zone, the one that ends outside the pole, on top of landside. It's always, you know, a really competitive end zone. But yeah, man, DZ is playing like a well-oiled machine right now. Probably like the best team in the world right now. And you know, they locked down the tunnel with Caustic, and you know, they just came out and just wiped the last 2 squads. So they're playing the best right now, firing on all cylinders. So not surprising to see them doing so good, I guess.
Yeah, they're doing excellent at the moment. I mean, Trials is one of the big reasons, surely, right? We've seen what an excellent POI it is and the way DarkZero playing it at the moment.
Oh, 100%. SkyWest is broken, as some would say, but insane. Also, too, this in-game
started to get.
Yeah. Also, you know, this match. Yeah, I think you know, Legacy did a really good job here. They game plan was, you know, to play for second place. They realized that they probably weren't going to win the game, so always good to just realize, hey man, we'll take the second place, get a couple more points, and they did really good here with the Caustic ult. And gotta give a shout out to my boy Tech for winning the game. Some meat lover action back on the crypto, my boy. So good for him, man. Glad to see, you know, him doing good and him winning this game.
It was a huge opportunity, obviously, for meat lovers to make sure that they got that W. They were sitting pretty, and that's what you hope for when you're in a position like that, to come away with the dub, at least a second place. But this one, we hadn't seen one like this in a while, maybe ever. Rambo, walk us through this. What are your thoughts on Complexity so far? Because they've been a spark of life for this whole league.
Yeah, dude, this game was Battle of the Rat King, it seemed like. I mean, I'm a really big fan of all the Complexity boys. Mon, Kimchi, Lu have always been nice to me, so always rooting for them, man. And, you know, going into the split, I think a lot of people had questions about them, you know, their team, you know, their players and everything. But, man, I'm glad to see them win. And I think people, you know, will gain some respect for them after that one.
You know, it's always an interesting thing looking back and kind of looking forward. You've said that it's brought a spark of life back into the game. One of the things that we have seen today, as we've seen the first kind of iteration on the Pro League, is introduction of Lifeline really having a lot of success. We've seen Fuse, that's already been changed back to Caustic. We haven't seen that fly. Caustic certainly has done well. But I just want to get your touch again on maybe just this Legend in particular. Is this something that we could actually see, having won EMEA already, now looking like, you know, winning a few games here in North America, something that we think is going to stay? Or is this just, you know, kind of flavor of the month?
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of teams tend to, you know, look who's winning, like what characters are doing good. So, you know, the more times that a Lifeline wins, you know, a lot more teams are going to play her. So, yeah, I think you could definitely see a lot of it. I don't know how much of it, but, you know, obviously with Aurora winning on Lifeline today and, you know, Complexity winning that last game, I think it's definitely possible. I think with the whole season 20 in general, with all the character changes and, you know, a lot of characters got buffs and stuff like that. So I think it's coming. Lifeline meta.
Well, I'd like to see it, man. You know, at least she's not healing 50% faster than everybody like she did in the very beginning of the game, though that was fun in some pub matches. I will guarantee that. Rambo from Native, thanks for joining us, man. Great halftime recap, and we wish you best of luck in the rest of the season.
Appreciate it, boys. Thanks for having me, man. Much love. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, I love it. You know, we were talking to him. He's in Canada right now, freezing. You know, as a Florida guy, he's used to the beach and a board. I feel for him, but I appreciate that he came and spent some of that, you know, energy with us on the broadcast, fellas. It's always great, Mark, to talk to a guy like Rambo. Very insightful as well.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of fun with him before we went on the show as well, saying that he's adapting to his conditions as well because he's moved to Canada now. He's in the woods and the beard's coming out. As soon as he goes back to Florida as well, trust me, the tan's going to come back in. The beard will kind of rescind back into his face. He's an adaptable man. Is that Rambo? He's a great guy.
He's got the look. I mean, for the wilderness, I love it. Rambo, we love you. Thanks for joining us as well, man. What a pleasure. When we come back, we will have more Apex Legends on the table for you. And in fact, wait a second. I forgot. We're not even going to break. We're just sending Mark on a break. Oh, man. Dan, I kind of jumped the gun there. But hey, you and me, buddy. Let's do it. How we feeling?
Sometimes we just have to put Mark in his place. You know, he's big boss man. He's a big lad, but sometimes we just have to push him to one side just to keep him in check. And I think that's okay. But
that's true.
Yeah, feeling great. I'm looking forward to match 4 because that means we switch over to Storm Point. And I get the exciting cast of having that switch. Last time in EMEA, of course, I kind of watched in the wings and I waited to see what was going to happen. And now I get to see it unfold and actually talk about it live. There's going to be a lot of big differences, whether it comes down to composition changes, but also it's going to be so much different with more wildlife available for the Evo upgrades here, and we're going to see people trying to fight those spiders, trying to fight the prowlers, just to get any sort of extra bonus objectives.
Yeah, certainly a lot of different routes to do it on Storm Point. It was meant to be more of a PvE type map in general. So how does that play in terms of leveling up your Evos faster? Hopefully it compensates for the fact that this is such a big map. Unlike World's Edge, there's a lot more running to do, a lot more space to cover. If you're not picking up the Valkyrie, it could be a little slower for your rotations, your pathing, and things like that. As you can see, this drop spots here. To kick us off in 4, it puts Complexity in Command Center. We were just talking about them up on high, meat lovers. FURIA landing on the wall and maybe on the south side as well. Moist Esports, Echo HQs, where we've seen many end zones finish. And also on the far left side, OpTic and DarkZero sharing that western coast of Down Beast and the Mill. Certainly a high threat level there. So as we jump into game number 4 on Storm Point, we get to really see how this script is going to be written. Somebody gave DarkZero 2 Kramers to start it off in game 1 on World's Edge. What will we see in game 1 on Storm Point?
Well, certainly we're going to see a couple of contests that you saw on your screen. There's a few teams, especially down on the southern side of the map, they're going to be fighting. It looks like ALGS are contested again at checkpoint with Cream. So they'll be duking it out to see who can control and whether ALGS will leave that contest like they had to on World's Edge, or whether this time they can be supreme. And we get to have a little look at what the composition is going to be look at. A few Horizons starting to be in the mix now for Stormpoint. That's expected with the elevation difference. I saw a Fuse there as well. We saw a Fuse on World's Edge as well, but then it was quickly taken out of disguised composition because I think they realized that maybe it wasn't what they were quite looking for. I always appreciate variants. I always appreciate looking for something a little bit different, but it didn't seem like Fuse was quite the right fit for their composition.
One of the interesting things in terms of compositions I'm noting that has stayed consistent is the fact that Dropped is playing the Gibraltar still. We didn't get a chance to really highlight a level 3 version of that because the perks don't come in for a little bit later, and they were playing kind of zone and not leveled up at that point. But I'm very curious to see if it's Baby Bubble or Bubble Bunker that gets chosen. Two really good options there. We know that their Fresh Start allies are revived with 50 HP, seems to be the guaranteed pickup there, at least in the support pro play. But whether you're reducing the tactical size and getting 25% cooldown, I mean, that's extremely valuable, having those bubbles up more often. But on the reverse side, Bubble Bunker, making it bigger, but also increasing the tactical lifetime by 4 seconds. That is a 33% increase because it's only 12 seconds long. So now bumping that to 16, that is definitely a big difference, and it's going to throw a lot of people's timings off of when you're safe and when you still have defenses available. So very curious to see how Dropped keeps working on that Gibraltar. But Charmander and Votary, like usual, off to an early fight here in contest.
Yeah, I mean, we thought ALGS might be going up towards checkpoint, but it seems like ALGS were so annoyed that Oversleepers were contesting them on World's Edge that they've decided to now contest them here on Stormpoint. This is a tale as old as time. Teams never learn. Teams just have too big egos, and they're going to take the fight again. But it looks like Oversleepers are going to get the better of ALGS again, which is a shame for ALGS. They're not really going to get to play much Apex Legends if that keeps happening. But at least there was one survivor able to walk away. Circle-wise, we're going down to Barometer, or as famously as I once said, Barometer, and I'm glad that I learned how to speak English, Rain Day.
But you know, you are English, so you know, coming to America from England, I mean, there's going to be some changes. We're going to give you some leeway there, Dan, so don't feel too bad about it as well. Now, you know, now you're a resident, so you definitely get a lot more leeway here. Actually, no, it's the opposite. Now we're going to be a little harsher, that's for sure. You know, I mean, finally seeing these southern zones, that's kind of been the tale of Stormpoint for a while. Rotating south. It's been since this map is kind of created. There's not a lot of north zones, but if there are north zones, typically teams that land north win. Now teams have kind of gotten accustomed to that, and we'll see how they can handle it. But on this new Stormpoint with Season 20, this is the first chance we've seen, not only with these new legend compositions, but with the harvesting. And as this early rotation is happening from Complexity, looking like an evac tower and then a skyward dive, they are still on white. So they've made such a fast rotation, a little bit risky if they get into an immediate fight, but if they can land, they have rotated nearly half the map in a matter of seconds. So this is something that they are kind of betting on, and it looks like, at least for now, this area of Barometer should be safe.
Yeah, leaning away from the lifeline when it comes to Stormpoint for Complexity. DarkZero already on blues and looking like they're going to try and press an advantage on a team that was trying to scutter away from them, and they get that initial knock. Jen Burton doing the job. 9 lives are eliminated, and we're down to 19 teams. So just like that, DarkZero are even closer to purple, and even though it's going to be a very different experience from World's Edge, perhaps their aggression is going to pay off here. But there is a lot of teams who, again, are favoring towards the caustic meta, and that means you do move early. You get that big boy out of the way, get into a building, hunker down, and then you can position yourself to hopefully get to the end game.
And that's why I've been so surprised what we saw in EMEA, where there was this insistence on kind of fighting and rotating mid-game and being willing to take on teams as you're not in position for where you want to end up in end-game. It doesn't really suit Caustic, even though the perk is obviously benefiting the ultimate very early at your level 2. But right now we're seeing a lot of teams take the old school approach, which I still vote for, especially when Caustic is to play. FaZe finding themselves a nice little building for now, all on blues, 8 points. A lot of work to do for Snipe Downs, Air Tricky, and Panders, but they're a team that can do it. There are teams, Air Tricky and Panders specifically, that have known to run Stormpoint in old metas past, so looking to get back into their former ways.
I will say it does allow a lot of these players to use the Caustic Mythic skin, not the heirloom, the heirloom skin, which is arguably one of the best in the game, and finally to be able to see it on my screens over and over again competitively, always a big fan of that. So I don't blame the players when they get their heirloom shards on making sure they can now use it to its full advantage. But I will say that I think you're right. Like, we saw a couple of times Caustic players maybe too exposed, too out in the open, and I think that is people following trends and playing Caustic because he's meta, but not necessarily fitting their playstyle, not necessarily fitting their ideologies of how they want to approach Apex Legends, and that is going to be an adjustment period, and naturally I think it will happen at the start of a new meta shift. So we might see people then trend away from Caustic because of it, or completely redesign how they play the game so that they will then play Zone. But we've seen Edge really works, especially in EMEA. It was dominated by Edge earlier on today. Not necessarily seen the same success here in NA. It seems to be a little bit more even, but I do think North America is a little bit more even across the board than EMEA right now.
Continuing to see play despite meta changes is Bangalore. 19 out of 20 teams have a Bangalore, and that's even gone up from the 90% on World's Edge. That is because of Stormpoint. Obviously, the ability to not only have Rolling Thunder, but the smokes, make any place that you are in these wide open places coverable. Doesn't mean it's going to save you, but at least you can have some type of occlusion. No catalyst walls, though, so Bangalore is the best type of occlusion available in this current meta. Moist lose Empty and they lose Guild, and it's just Waltzy who's trying to get out alive. That was a fight that didn't go their way, and maybe it's because they were fighting DarkZero. Nothing has worked against this squad who find themselves at the top of North America. And though they've gotten Moist, Waltzy, and Empty, they still haven't gotten Gilderson's up. That smoke, it's not going to be enough. Jim Burton gets the final kill, but they've got the banner. So with a mobile respawn beacon, they may still be able to get Gilderson's back in this.
Yeah, they've certainly got eyes on them from a couple of different directions. They just need to play this one correctly. And of course, since the changes that we've seen from season 19, it was in the end, you come back with your guns, and I think we're all used to that by now, but it just means that you can play a little bit more aggressively to get people back in, because you know you're not going to be pushed as quickly as you would have previously, so they should be able to get back up to a full 3 and be comfortable.
Well, it's not also too that you see everyone picking up mobile respawn beacons. Previously there was a lot of evac tower selection in that kind of utility slot as well, but with maybe more skyward dives, not necessarily everyone, but we will see the availability, I think, of more of those mobile respawns being something that they can pick up and not have to worry about. Obviously, if you're just playing Apex on your own screens, you might be thinking, where are the heat shields? Those heat shields are not in competitive, in case you're looking at this and going, that's not like my rank match, that's not like my match that I'm used to playing. But of course, that is some of the differences. I want to kind of comment too on what you said, Disguised. They are one of the only rotating teams that we have seen. Meat Lovers, Disguise, FURIA as well. They've known to play. Those teams haven't had tremendous success today, and so partially I wonder if it's less about the idea of edge play, more about the fact that maybe Disguised and FURIA, being two of the three primary kind of edge teams that we've seen, haven't really been having the best days, and it, you know, for whatever reason, that's kind of turning into a result of edge play not also looking as optimal as getting into zone, especially with these caustics.
Yeah, there are going to be a few teams who are going to struggle when there are changes, for sure, and you know, maybe it's not going to be great in the first attempt, but perhaps the second or third, they might just find that right recipe for success. And sometimes, you know, you are not a pioneer of new changes. Sometimes you have to just copy what's going to happen elsewhere. And we've seen it so many times throughout meta shifts where people will start to be copycatting the teams that find success. Rambo was talking about it in the interview. We've seen Lifeline have success in EMEA. Likely it is. A few teams will say, well, maybe we should try Lifeline. And that's just naturally how metas shift and how they develop. But then counters will come through and people will say, well, how can we counter this? And then they change and then they win. And you just get a constant swapping and changing. And I love it. It keeps things fresh.
It's also interesting, too, because there's always stories that I've had just working in game dev previously, or, you know, our privilege of talking to some of our designers who join us at things at LAN and spend time with us, you know, where characters are extremely good in terms of their win rate, but are just not played. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activator that when you think of, hey, I want a new car, you start seeing kind of that car on the road a little bit more. Our brain knows when we're focusing on something, it kind of auto selects to see it more. And there is an element of that with characters. You see a character more, you see it performing, your mind starts to think of ways that it works, you see examples of how it works, and that kind of takes, I think, the meta by storm. But yet there could be these characters on the side. You see Dropped going with Gibby. That's just one example. DSG trying Fuse, didn't work, they switched back out. But maybe there's actually some statistical data of them performing really well in season 20 that we just need a few teams to switch on to. A character like Maggie as well, I would expect for some teams to try in this season, because she's gotten a ton more utility, not just in her ultimate, but in her riot drill. And I think she brings a nice little disruption to this meta. So a lot of those things, just food for thought. Season 20 giving us a lot of ideas and made things very interesting, both for the viewer and the player to try to discover.
Yeah, I think if the meta gets more aggressive, we certainly will see Mad Maggie in the equation. For now, all the teams are still trying to move down towards Barometer, but sadly, if you've not made it into Barometer by now, you're not really going to make it in without having to brute force your way through a team who already resides in one of the buildings. It is heavily contested down in Barometer. OpTic Gaming, we saw, get back to a full 3, utilizing the respawn beacon to make sure that they can get back up and have another go at playing Apex Legends. Disguise, though, may hold out OpTic, and you can also see Meat Lovers are griefing on the northern side at the moment, not allowing Oversleepers to get into the zone. FURIA flying in with a skyward dive as well, and consistency and taking it slow here. Still a lot of teams alive. 57 players, only 3 members who started this lobby are out of it, so everyone's still fighting for their spot. Madness will go down, and Keon trying to run away. His Watson and that skydive with his squad did not work out, and now they're just trying to escape with their life. Battery accomplished, and maybe a res. They can get something done if they get their Caustic alive, especially in Keon, but it is still now going to be a tough task. Scan from Watson just to clear the area, and trying to get Madness's banner, I'm sure, if possible, but mostly just trying to stabilize. Yeah, where do you play? Just run into another Caustic Barrel as well, and his Watson should just be able to stay alive. The Caustic Barrel almost killing him off. Keon is still going to be alive just about as well, but this is what I was talking about with Barometer, is that everyone seems to have already found a place to call home. So even if you arrive late, you're just going to be playing some subpar position that you're likely going to be vulnerable at being shot by someone who maybe is on height. As OpTic at the moment, they have got back up to a full 3. Let's jump into a listen and see what the thoughts are of the green wall.
Smoked across.
Behind.
Behind us, yeah. Go.
I'm in.
Yep, I'm in. You good, Skittle?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm thermite in the bottom door. You might be running in.
We're barely in here. Alright, this is fine. Alright, boys. Good thing about playing a support character, huh?
Yep. Walking up, maybe?
I'm 1-1.
Yeah, on our building. I'm 1-1. He's out to the north here, right?
We cannot fucking play. We have to just chill.
Playing under us. It's a different team, though. It's a different team.
It's a different team as the nut team. They're gonna get fucked, or as the bridge team, and queued and spam.
Yeah.
They should just die.
He might just be a rat. I don't hear him now.
They might have ran. Yeah, they ran. They're gone.
A brief moment of respite for OpTic as they find themselves inside the ball, but it's going to end at some point here as they are going to have to move. But for the moment, able to watch teams from the safety of being inside those walls. The big thing to note is we haven't seen OpTic on purples yet. This has been one of the themes for them. They have not really been able to level up their shields, their armor cores, excuse me, fast enough. And Legacy right now, they can't stop taking damage fast enough. Juanis almost going down to 1 health, and he stays alive and gets that shield battery off to continue the fight down. Yeah, at the moment, there's just so much damage coming through from that caustic gas. The Nox grenade has gone down and has made it very difficult for Legacy, but they have just been able to hold on. They did enough damage onto the team that was pushing up on them that they can now hold the top of this building. You can see having the catalyst on their side just allows them to reinforce those doors as well. Again, the benefit of having a different legend and in certain scenarios can really help out, and this is one of them. Catalyst obviously not on that second perk as well, the level 3, which increases that ultimate by either 15 meters or the ultimate lifetime by 5 seconds. But right now still obviously has the ability to increase the max number of spikes, which is going to help quite a bit in covering those angles, back doors, and of course the stairs. OpTic, they're on the move yet again, but again, running out of resources, it feels like. No big meds, possibly. OpTic knocked and Skittle Cakes working with a little bit less health and just syringes to try to get there. 19 points so far. They're going to make a move. Then the smoke. Everyone just kind of positioning, Dan. It's been a very crowded barometer so far. What are we seeing as the zone is about to move.
We're seeing 19 squads still alive, and this is, again, one of the few zones in Storm Point which is more predictable, so people do play it slower, people do play a little bit more zone heavy, as XSET are going to lose one. Nocturnal has gone down. It's Tempr on the other side of things, but Nizo also has fallen, so there is 3 teams involved in this fight right now.
Beautiful stuff here from Fun. He's so skilled. One of the best individual players in Apex. That is the ultimate, coming through and doing the damage that you would expect to see. And XSET are going to at least hold this building. That is Jaguares and Legacy. Down, not necessarily out though. I believe as Nocturnal is still out of this game. Koiful, he's going to fall, and that's it for XSET. You thought they might have been able to stabilize, but they cannot. Dropped yet again, still not on that upgrade to the bubble. He's just going to have to fight with what he has, but there it is, the gun shield against the Caustic. And that is going to be enough at least to ward off Empire, who is trying to push, and Cream will be eliminated. They will not rise to the top, as Mark had mentioned previously, and OpTic will survive yet another day.
I mean, bubble plus shotgun plus throwing yourself at another team. You're playing Gibraltar right, but they haven't really been able to benefit off after that in previous games. They've not really been able to get into a prime position. Instead, they've just been forcing themselves way by way into the zone, and it seems like it's going to be a similar situation for OpTic, but they are still alive right now. But that could change very quickly if they get spotted out. They're back up to a full 3. Complexity, remember, we saw them move very early on Greys, but they have found themselves on Blues, whether that be via damage or looking at care packages, we're not sure. And there's the confirmation that OpTic are going to be back on their feet as a full 3. Still no purple yet for drops. Rainy just wants to see what perk they select. Give him the chance. Come on.
Come on, baby. Come on. Just do it. One shot. You know the chat wants to see it too. Everybody at home wants to see it. This is season 20 for crying out loud. It's the only Gibraltar in the lobby. Help us out, dropped. We need you. But that doesn't mean that it's going to get the job done. DarkZero have positioned themselves really well outside another team from Australia, now representing North America. Moist Esports, they are in a nice position. To the left of them is the zone and safety. In front of them are rocks and plenty of headpiece to keep pressure with the 30-30 and the Volt on the side of MT. So I like where Moist is sitting. 12 squads are left. And Dan, this is truly the definition of what season 20 has brought to us, because there's no way that we would see so many teams on Blues at this point in the game. Round 5 about to close. And it's going to be a very big thing you have to give up if you're going to play this passively and just try to play zone.
Which is why a lot of teams are slightly discouraged from fighting in these scenarios, but it's DarkZero and Moist in the best positions at the moment. All the Aussies on the southern side of the circle, but now everyone on the northern side has to move in because the circle begins to close. Oversleepers are eliminated. OpTic still doing what they can. Dropped is onto purple, but at the moment does not have a chance to even choose his perk right now, Rain Day. So we're going to have to wait for that to see if it's going to happen. I love that the observers are staying on it because they know they want to see it as well. But look at all these teams moving from north to south. Eternal, SSG, FURIA, Tempr, Complexity, and Elevate are all outside of the zone.
Oh my goodness, Knocked. He's almost down as well. Skittlecakes may fall. Dropped his fallen. And so we have to wait another game to see that one. But Skittlecakes is alive and will help to hopefully carry on their legacy. Elevate, Zach Mazur's going to run into Skittlecakes here. And a beautiful rotation from Zach. He gets another KP, another placement point. And there's no way Zach can stay alive and clean this up. I don't believe it. And that's because it didn't happen. Tempr is eliminated, but so is Elevate, and Moist Esports still holding on. Moist Esports, I liked their position before. I like it now. There's no taste of blood. Let's double that duration of the scan, says Waltzy, and let's listen in on if they can win this one.
Smoke on them. We got lots of zone. We got lots of. We have to move. Blood is playing out the back. Blood is playing out the back.
Bang's on the right.
One team. We just need to have traps down because we have all the zone. They have to move into us.
I have traps down. I'm healing.
They've also got it. It's bad.
I can't see anything. I'm smelling.
Almost cracked blood. Are we safe anywhere?
I don't know.
Not really. They're back. They're straight in front of me.
I'm sculpting close.
I'm holding right.
I got my ult.
One's above. I can't see anything.
Caustic cracked.
Blood me. Last one on your back. Give it up. Yes. Place low guild on you. Place low.
Item 48. Item 48.
Do you have a nade? No. You're okay. Trust me, you're okay. Just keep healing. Double knock empty here. You fucking win this. Can you pop another cell? No. You win this. You win this.
No.
Man.
But I had nothing. As soon as we got the 2v1 guild, you see the right.
The clash of Australia reaches the coasts of America, and it's DarkZero who claim the land and send Moist packing. What a moment there from DZ, and what a time to be alive. Look at that type of play. That is what we love in the ALGS. And thank you, DZ and Moist, for giving us that star-studded action.
Okay, so I mean, a lot just happened in the final 3 minutes. We went from 12 teams to 2 minutes to 2 teams in approximately 30 seconds, and of course that 3v3 that unfolded, it was eventually a 2v1 in favor of Moist, and you could hear they were like, play slow, play slow. As a Caustic, if you were going to step out and you're going to challenge, you are going to be melted. I don't care about the damage reduction. You were a big hitbox, and Zero took full advantage of that. And then the final 1v1, I mean, we only saw it from Moist's point of view, but it was just a matter of both healing up, who had the better weapons, who had the better angles, who hit their shots, and it is Zero coming out on top.
You know, Zero really, I mean, that from his perspective might have been one of the hyper moments for him, because he does clutch it up. He takes down one, he waits, he out heals MT as well, who didn't have any big meds from the shield battery perspective, and I feel like Zero did, and that made it so that Zero could have a little bit of extra health over in that fight. And you know, sometimes that's the difference. 25, that could be it. But, you know, really clutch play. And that's what Zero's been known for. This is why DarkZero have been alongside TSM in the modern era of Apex, in the general era of Apex, in person at LAN, the only 2 teams that have hoisted those trophies and claimed playoffs or championship wins. So we go back and see exactly why the DNA is to clutch up and to win, Dan. And that's certainly what they did here in our first game on Stormpoint.
And again, it was another successful rotation from them. They were able to move into the southern side of the circle quite comfortably, but took a fight when a fight was available to them, when they saw a team was on a lower amount of shields, and they said, all right, well, this is going to be a free wipe for us. Even more Evo shields that they're going to be having in the late game, and turns out to be very important, considering the majority of the late game teams, they were on blues, but we were able to see DarkZero push their way up to purples, which then gives them an extra factor in those final fights as well, just to make sure that they're going to be confident, happy to take any fight indeed.
I mean, that truly was probably, as we look at the results, the biggest takeaway from that game. The entire lobby nearly on blues, with 19 squads still remaining. You could see how passive that game was. In previous metas, in any other season, over the past 19 other seasons, you would have seen red Evos, purple Evos across the board here and there because of the random loot factor. And now because you have to earn it, if you swap something higher, which no one had, it would go back to the same level that you had earned. It changes the pros and cons, the penalties of not playing aggressive enough in those late game scenarios. And we're going to look at that. I think a lot of pros are going to look at that, Dan, and go, do we really ever want to be in a situation like that again? Because that really hurts. That means anybody can take you down. We all know how, you know, light a blue shield feels in this game. 150, you know, that's not that much. You can go down to almost anything, especially with players who aim this well. So for me, huge takeaway there. DarkZero and Moist, they were at the top, really cleaning out the leaderboards. But a big shout out to Elevate Gaming and OpTic, as well as Tempr, who round out our top 5, and Elevate specifically, who grabbed 12 points off of a 5th place finish.
It's also another reason why we're seeing so much Caustic and Bang, because if you look at the Evo upgrades, you look at the level 2 upgrades from Blue, Caustic and Bangalore have 2 of the best ones. Yes. When you look at the ultimate reduction for Bangalore and you look at the ultimate spread from Caustic, you can get that whilst being on blue, and we're not seeing as many purples, so that's probably why they are 2 of the highest legend pick rates that we see at the moment. As we look at the bottom 10 of that match 4 result, again, Oversleepers able to pick up 4 kills, so they find themselves on 5 points. It's been a slow day for FaZe. They've not been getting going, and at the moment, they're not up there when it comes to playoff spots, so we need to see a turnaround from FaZe if we're going to be seeing them on LAN.
Currently sitting at 22nd place coming into this one. Obviously, they do have a game in hand, so that could get up to 20th. You just want to have a chance to get into that regional final where you, if you win, will get a spot at LAN. But DarkZero and Moist, 2 teams normally facing off each other, and OCE now have found their way to North America because of how confident they've been in their placement, in their play, and it is proven with 1 to 2 placements. 12 points at 9 in terms of that. 12 kills in 6, though, separating them only 200 damage. And it might have just been some of the damage at the very end of that game. They have played so well. Well, a lot of implications here in Game 4 for me. Not only Blues, 19 players remaining, and some of the penalties that we've showcased there, but what the meta and what these perks are actually showing us, which is the fact that sometimes the value of the perk is not what you might get at level 3. It's the fact that you may not get level 3. And so what do you have at level 2? And that is a whole new thing to consider here. I know these pros are going to get excited to get back out on the battlefield. We'll be right back with Games 5 and Game 6 to close out our day in North America.
Welcome back, you beautiful bunch of Apex enjoyers. We are back here. We got 2 more games to go. Dan's smiling because we were trying to work out like what's the best way to welcome you all back, and Apex enjoyers is undeniably the best one, Dan. You have to agree with me, right?
We are all Apex enjoyers after all. That's the reason why we're here. Whether you are on the production team, you're casting, or just watching or playing, we all blum and love Apex Legends. But we still have plenty more. We still got Match 5 and Match 6 to come our way. We're now on Storm Point. Mark, I know you were watching in the wings and you got to see the changes that were happening, but we are seeing consistency across the board, and that is a lot of Bangalore and a lot of Caustic.
We also got to see Zero versus MT, which I'm pretty sure that Zero will let them know that was that fight. I can guarantee it. In fact, I'm going to go back and watch it from his VOD, and I'm probably going to watch the end of the VOD because I'm sure that he'll jump into a Discord call where they're waiting, because if I know anything about Aussies, they're a competitive bunch, and he certainly will love to hold that over his fellow countryman, should I say, even though we're in North America now. I would also say to people, we got a little bit of an issue with the kills and the series results. We'll get that resolved as quickly as possible to bring you guys up to speed and make sure that you got all of the right information that you need. So bear with us a little bit on that, and hopefully we can get that up to date for you so we can make sure that those standings are pretty good and all correct for you, so you know where we stand. I'm also going to say, Dan, that this is a long weekend of Apex. Not only is there ALGS tomorrow, but we have the Challenger Series finals coming up on Monday as well. So all of this stuff still to come. And of course, that's going to be thanks to our friends over at Versus GG. So check that out on Monday. It's going to be some really, really good stuff going down. And maybe you'll get a little bit of an insight onto everything that's going to be going down in the next season of the ALGS Pro League. In the meantime, Dan, we've got 2 more games of Apex to get through. Game 5 is about to be live. And I'll tell you what, DarkZero looking pretty good as always.
Yeah, DarkZero will be delighted with that performance because it is another victory under their belts, and that will propel them up the leaderboards where they can have another successful match week. The last time these 2 groups went up with each other, it was 3rd place for DarkZero overall, and I'm sure they would love to be able to top that as we now get to revisit Ape Gang versus Oversleepers. It's been a dramatic chat, I will say, in the lobby between these 2 teams, but it has been Oversleepers who have come out on top. Can Ape Gang finally reply?
Let's see how this one goes down. Who's going to land first? The flight path looks like it's been won by 8gang, I would say, pretty comfortably. Yes, indeed. But with the size of the POI, you can obviously drop from one side to the other. But if I'm 8gang right now, I want to get involved in the fight, try and take this fight before my opposition gets some guns themselves. They've also given up high ground, and you can see the Danmatic up on top. He's found himself a car. The only problem is a lack of ammo. However, Mozambique's going to help him out now.
Standard issue. Very dependable.
Oversleepers and ApeGang both running the conduit because of the contest. It seems to be natural practice nowadays. If you are contested, you run the conduit to really help you out, not only in that fight, but if things go sour, you can, you know, play the support role and you can run away. You can craft the banners, you can restart. Reminder, OpTic Gaming, they had the Gibby, another support legend. They were able to run away, get back up to a full 3 and actually make a game of it because of that. So the support legends really are playing a huge part and a vital part still here in Season 20.
They certainly are indeed. Just to keep you up to date, what you're seeing right now, no knocks. However, thermites. Flesh damage is going to be close to a knock, but still nobody going to be going down. Finally, we do see some kills start to go down as ApeGang use that conduit once again to give themselves a little bit of extra shielding. The Mozambique was the pickup that we talked about helping out because the car didn't have much ammo, and help out it did indeed. So we do have a winner once again here, and the score is settled for now.
Yeah, now it's 1-1 on Storm Point. I'd say we'll give that one to ApeGang, certainly. They ran away from it last time because they had lost 2 players, so I'll still give that one to the Oversleepers. Now, circle-wise, looking pretty similar, but slightly more west. We're going to be heading down to Barometer again, but it could pull a little bit further west this time. So another similar rotation, I'd imagine, for DarkZero. They've got a ring console to work with at Mill. OpTic Gaming also had that information from Downbeast. You can see they are moving fast and probably past the Mill, but it looks like DarkZero are going to get away before them. That is a trident journey for both teams.
There is. I was just wondering there what's going on, and there is both in Tridents. You can see that OpTic Gaming going to stop for just a second, probably to hit that Evo Harvester to make sure they're up to blues. DarkZero now continuing their rotate. They're going to hit an Evo Harvester on their way as well, so they're guaranteed blues. You can already see they're only around 400 points or so each off of getting purple, so more than likely to see DarkZero on purples before we get to this end game. And for DarkZero, it's been another good day, Dan. The 1v1, the win, of course. Zero clutching up in that battle around the knockdowns. We saw them win the first game on World's Edge today as well. Business as usual for them, and they're just going to look like they can continue with this form. They're going to be extending their lead at the top of the leaderboards, coming in, of course, with only 3 match days played. This is their 4th to join everybody else, and looking very dominant.
Very dominant indeed, and I think that there's a lot to be learned from their POVs, and providing they're streaming them, which usually they are, go back, watch it. If you are a lover of Apex, definitely watch it. They're one of the best teams in the world right now, alongside, of course, the likes of TSM. So we'll have to see whether they can keep progressing and keep impressing throughout the ALGS Pro League. Now, because this is a similar circle on set, we saw it in the same, we saw it last game. 19 teams were alive as we got to like the last 2 circles. A lot of them were on blues. Wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar here with this circle being a bit more predictable. I guess it's less predictable than the one we had seen prior, just of where the surface area of this ring console circle is. So we might see a few teams kind of hovering around the edges of Cenote and perhaps northern side just below Sito Station. There's arguably more room to play with this circle, so we might even see 19 squads again with only 2 circles left.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's an option for some teams to maybe go over to Mill and hit a 3rd zone beacon as well to see they can get a little bit of information that everyone else who's rotating a little bit quicker won't have. You could also do the same from down at Coastal Camp, where you're going to be safe and trying either Valcol or hit the evac tower to get in. Eternal going to be doing the second of those options at the moment to try and get into zone, but we already know it's pretty busy at the moment. One thing that can certainly help you out is as a survey beacon to just give you information on what spots are taken and what is going to be free, and it looks like Eternal are going to have the info that this building is free for now, so they will be safe, they will be inside, and once again everyone kind of repeating the dose that we saw from the previous game, finding somewhere to play, and it's going to be all about the end game by the looks of things.
Everyone's going to be setting up. It's going to be really whether those teams who are able to get those Evo Harvesters in the early game and potentially get up to purple, can they find a spot to play? It was difficult to do so in the previous game. XSET, at the moment, they're on blue, but they are farming some of the Spidey Spiders that are around, and I guess why not? Let's jump in and see what the communication is like with XSET.
Individually by 1 gun. Alright, let's go back.
I'm just scanning like this building area.
We're shooting a flyer right now.
Did you scan tunnel?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Wait, you want to take it if it's free?
They haven't opened the door.
I really want to, yeah. That's like top 5 easy.
Might be a team already there.
But I mean,
I could try to walk up. Well, I don't even think my scan could like reach all the way in there.
You can scan right here.
Got a live one out there.
Watching this doorway for you.
I'm gonna scan right here. Ready? Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, team in there.
Caustic team. Should we play this bridge or the north bridge? I think that bridge is better, no?
I think it gets aped by like barometer. Well, either bridges we get aped.
You get aped by barometer and you die to that team. Like that just kind of gets free kills on you. I think northeast is more of a like an actual 3v3, but we get like wide swung to really
Yeah,
get angles
this
on
net
us.
team just like angles us. This net team just gets like a free third party if we fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
The door's still open over here, so no one's there yet.
One thing to take away from that listening, Dan, is XSET say, hey, we want to play the tunnel. We want to scan the tunnel and find out if there's a team in there. If it's free, it's an easy top 5. Guess who's in the tunnel? It's DarkZero. I mean, it's just, yeah, it kind of tells you how good DarkZero are at finding good spots, right?
Yeah, DarkZero are in one of the prime positions for sure, and I think they're going to be delighted. As expected, the circle is moving a little bit further west. There you go. I had to use my onset compass just to make sure I was doing the correct thing.
I think I've written compasses for you, by the way, because now you second guess yourself, like I do every single time.
I think I'm fine, and then I have to do the naughty elephant squirt water or the never eat shredded wheat, and it just keeps me sane, you know. OpTic Gaming, by the way, on the far west side, and if the circle does continue pulling west, they should be in a decent spot. But the likes of OpTic, DarkZero, XSET, Complexity, 9 Lies, expect to see those 5 squads towards the end game.
Yeah, Moist Esports taking a southern position on this zone as well. It's going to be an interesting one for them because where they are at the moment, as you can see right on the southern tip, they're going to be safe for the next zone, but obviously they're not going to have info on where the zone is going to be going after that. And they're going to have a really tough rotate afterwards because they're going to have to fight against 9 Lies who are in that building and teams leaving from Barometer who are going to fight them as well. And there's just no cover in that water for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they see teams starting to move away from Barometer, especially some of those teams arriving a little bit later who might have a little bit more zone info from hitting a ring console or the third one or the fourth one. Then if they see the traffic starting to go one way and not really a lot of traffic in and around them at Barometer, they might try and make a move a little bit earlier or look to take a fight a little bit earlier so they have a spot for the end game.
Well, a team who did play the ring console at Mill, as you were predicting, was Disguised. They've moved from the north side and they hit that console. Now they can have the information of how they want to approach it, and they probably will continue to approach on the western side, which means that the likes of OpTic Gaming could be vulnerable from their push, but we'll have to see whether that happens later. As for everyone else, you know, we expected it sitting pretty around Barometer. The action's not really going to unfold until the next couple of circles come in and people are forced together. Everyone happy residing where they are for now.
Interesting for teams who arrive late here because it's one of those zones, like we say, it's kind of pulling away from Barometer where some teams who had managed to get their Evos up to blue and decided, hey, we've got ring console information, we can see everyone's in Barometer, surely it's got to be a Barometer zone, right? If you're arriving a little bit later here and your pathing is taking you through extra Evos, extra spider tunnels, whatever it might be, you're hitting survey beacons on your way towards zone and you got purples and you're closing in on reds, you could be in a really good spot, actually, arriving late here as opposed to quick rotating. One of those teams is going to be FaZe, who are right on the northern side of the zone right now. They're not really going to have any worries, so to speak, of anyone closing in on them. So they can take a little bit longer here just to path themselves towards where some of those Evo harvesters might be, see if they can scan a couple of care packages that might be near them as well. And if they can do that, they have an opportunity to arrive with essentially high-level purples or maybe even a red. That means when you have to take a fight towards the end game, you're more than likely to win it against teams who just haven't been able to do exactly that, path themselves around those Evo interactions to make sure that those armors are leveled up. So Disguised, another one of those teams, have done something very similar. They're also safe for the next zone. They do have that zone 3 info beacon that they hit on Mill, like you said, so that's why they're safe for now. Inside of Cenote, they don't really have to do too much. They've got purples and you can see that enemy's only 883 damage off, which might seem like a fair bit, but a fair bit of poke damage, one team fight, one plus the fact that you might scan care package that comes down, it's very doable for them to be in a good spot and maybe come out of this with some reds, as now we see FURIA taking the fight against Tempr.
And it has been a quieter day for FURIA, but at the moment in the overalls, they came into this in 6th place, so it's not as imperative for them to find success as it is, for example, FaZe, who we checked in on, right? FaZe, who came in today on, what, 22nd position? So they really needed to show up today, and they just haven't been able to do so. And people are like, well, why do you keep mentioning FaZe? One of the biggest organizations we have in esports, and there's always going to be that expectations to perform. And of course, we know what Snipedown's done in the past as a player, as well as the likes of Zero Tricky. So I'm excited to see if they can find some form here in the latter stages of Pro League. Meanwhile, though, FURIA are continuing their aggression, and they're continuing to take control of this tower here in Barometer.
Yeah, I think FURIA have recognized already that this is going to be a game that's unlikely to win, but KP is going to be fantastic. And look at those shots coming in from Madness. Gets the knock, and it's going to be Legacy, who tried to move up and take that height, and Madness just quite simply shut the door on them.
Sometimes you have to be careful when you're taking those zips. Against any of these players in this lobby, you are going to be so vulnerable. They tried to get the res, but that's just going to put them in even more hot water here as FURIA continue their aggression, continue their path. But Madness has gone down. Nizo has been able to reply. Keon will at least make sure they get 1 KP to go alongside it, but there are other teams getting involved with this. This is the panic that starts to happen now, because round 3 is closing. All these teams that are on this southeast side of Barometer have to move, so people are starting to do things a little bit quicker here.
Legacy with some cheeky angle. Look at the angles they have right now, and Keon's gonna fall as well, so Yanya answering back here. Here's Watson, it's all up to you. He gets one onto Yanya, who drops. He does have the knockdown to play behind, but he's not gonna be able to use it. FURIA eliminated. Legacy also fall, though, as both teams who are involved in that fight fall prey to SSG, who move in and clean up those final pieces. Tempr, by the way, they got out of that, and now they can try and move across, but they're going to be coming up against SSG, one of those teams who did late rotate towards zone here, prioritizing going for that Evo because they had so far to travel, where it's going to be purple versus blue for them.
Yeah, a lot of blues again, similarly to what we saw in the previous game. Eternal at the moment 3rd overall right now, and they have been so impressive today and in previous weeks, and they're looking to carry on with that form as Meat Lovers are taken out in 17th position, so we're down to 16 squads, but Eternal have to move from this northeast side. The good thing is there's not many teams that are holding them out. The only real threat nearby is Complexity, so Eternal should be able to find a position around the bridge area. It's not going to be a endgame position, but it certainly will be happy for them for the time being.
Well, Sentinels trying to stay healthy, but elsewhere, SSG are trying to force their way into zone. Will do just about so, you would imagine, but no, the zone lays claim to 1. Elsewhere, you can see XSET, they're going to have a fight with DarkZero by the looks of things as the bridge and the tunnel look at each other, but SSG at the moment just trying to force their way in. Tempr, they've been eliminated. They were the team that were moving from the top of Barometer down. As a duo, I believe they will fall, but speaking of duos, it's all up to SSG now. Frex and Zainu to either get Phony back on his feet or try and play this game out as a 2.
Remember, SSG were able to win this match week last time these two groups went up with each other, so it's been a bit of a different approach for them. Of course, with meta changes, there's always going to be some teams that are a little bit slower, but SSG hasn't had the best of days, and sometimes that could just be down to zones as well, but they can make up for it here. There still is time in match 5 and 6. Right now, though, they're still outside of that circle, so it's going to be a difficult journey. You're going to have the likes of 8 Gang, Evolution, Elevate all around them here, and could potentially really threaten their chances of getting into the zone.
Interestingly to mention, Moist Esports, I mentioned how they might try and make an earlier rotate from the spot they were in. They did exactly that, and we'll go back to that conversation in a sec, because Frex is holding down this team from underneath, who I believe is Sentinels, almost single-handedly at the moment. The Skynade came up and chipped him from quite a bit of damage, but he replied in kind with that turbocharged Havoc, which, in my opinion, right now, best gun in the game.
There are 6 teams here on set. There are 6 teams right in this area that SSG find themselves in, and the circle's about to close. So you're all moving together. So you need a decision. Are you going to look for KP? Are you just going to grief a little bit? Or are you just going to try and get out of dodge and see if you can get into the zone? 7 hostiles detected on the Bloodhound scan. So SSG know that this is a very heavily occupied area, as now other teams also making their move. Remember, Elevate were moving from the western side, the eastern side as well, over to the west side, and now SSG are going to follow them in suit.
SSG should be able to get the finishes here onto Sentinels, but now it's all up to Phony. It's kind of a bit awkward here. They do get the final kill, and Phony will have to play this one out as a solo. No chance of rezzing his two teammates here, but he's managed to get in behind E8 here, scarpering across the middle of that island. XSET, they've managed to find a spot to play as well, but now maybe is the chance with this fight that may break out for DarkZero to leave that tunnel, to move in onto XSET and third them, or is it going to be a case of E8 being helped out here? Because DarkZero now take the attention away of XSET. In the meantime, SSG have been eliminated.
XSET have to turn around, and that will open things up for DarkZero to certainly get out of that tunnel you were speaking of, but XSET have been able to stay pretty healthy. Fun's the only person who took damage, but he gets a shield core swap. Let's jump into and listen in with XSET.
Getting shot about, careful! Getting shot north as well, careful!
I'm batting. No smokes. Northeast.
Not my barrels here, next to you, careful.
Play to south of me, south of me.
I'm gonna go down.
You have to come to me.
Selling.
I'm seeing you.
There's a fucking kill this guy.
This guy. Stop that.
Go south, boy. Go south.
With you.
You got all the church. Hug your right.
I'm stopping this.
Yep, go.
Put on your roof, and it.
Okay, we're chilling right here. We're fucking chill.
Careful to breathe.
Boy, can you
center back?
Scan south. Fucking. Can we go right here? The west side. Come here. Play to me.
I'm with you.
Just fucking sit right here.
Eva go crazy, Nocturnal go crazy. Listen to the intensity in the comms coming in from XSET here. And that Eva 8 in the smokes with the Digi. We thought Digimet was dead. XSET got something to say about that.
Sometimes in all the commotion, you just have to yell a little bit louder to get your teammates to listen. The intensity was there, but quite rightly so. They needed to make a decision. They needed to go in a certain direction, and now they are still alive because of it. As I say that, Nocturnal does get knocked, so they're going to be down to just one temporarily. OpTic are only a 2, and sorry, Rain Day dropped still only on blue armor. We're never going to find out.
Does Gibby have the ability to get to purple? That's the real question we're trying to answer today. We've seen it once, but the perk wasn't picked up. The bubble goes down, but is it going to be enough to make them survive this? He's going a little bit crazy, but not crazy enough. OpTic Gaming eliminated as they will fall. XSET up to 2, but here comes DarkZero.
Again, on the red is Zero, and again on the prowl are DarkZero. 6 squads now remain. They're in one of the better positions, and they are very healthy and well. They've also got the ability, I think Syke still had his ultimate up, so they're going to have the Nox grenade for that end game. They're going up against Disguised, Complexity, 9 Lives, and Eternal at the moment, but it is another quite open end game. But there are a few rocks and ridges that you can work with here just to give you that cover.
Complexity up on the height as well are a problem for the lobby because Monsoon has been picking up kill after kill with that Sentinel. He loves that weapon. He knows how much damage it can output, and he knows on mouse and keyboard how skilled he is. And he backs himself to hit those important shots. XSET, like I mentioned, up to a 2, but having to play down on that low ground at the moment, they will be safe. Complexity up on height at the moment, you can see. Don't have a lot of ammo to work with, as now we're going to see a catwall going down, and DarkZero are going to have to take a fight here against DSG, and DSG, they got a Mozambique. It's got all the attachments you could want, and that is a problem here for DarkZero because Timmy is firing through the smokes.
Smokes, gas, doesn't matter when you've got Mozam with the Digi threat. Again, the Digi meta is still there, but it's not going to matter for Disguise because the catwalk goes down just at the wrong time. Enemy, the last remaining player, he's picked off by the remainder of XSET, who are still alive, by the way, as a 2. But Complexity now starting to get up to a purple. I was going to say, as blue armored players, they might struggle in this endgame, but now a couple of them have been able to creep on up with that extra little bit of Evo damage from shooting some of the players below. 4 squads now remain. It's a duo of XSET, Complexity as a 3, Eternal as a 3, and a solo of 9 Lives.
I think Kimchi was like 28 off of purple, which would be massive in this endgame. If he just poke and just get one shot off, then maybe that would be enough. XSET, by the way, now have all of that loot, all those shield swaps to play with as well. They're going to be able to make sure that they're in a position to get healthy. They're trying to focus Complexity off of the height because they know that they have to drop as well. Eternal in a great spot here, by the way, as well, up on that high ground. It's 9 Lives, which I think is just a solo underneath. Complexity, XSET, and Eternal. And XSET, like we mentioned, just a 2, but what a game this would be. Surely Eternal have the best spot in the map.
Yeah, Nocturnal was moving and grooving, but I don't think it's going to be enough to survive as XSET do get eliminated. Now it's 3 squads, but remember, there is a solo of 9 Lives, so it's Complexity versus Eternal for the win, you'd have to imagine here.
Monsoon wants a weapon swap. I think Lou's going to go down as well as they try and cross through those death boxes. Is there going to be enough time for them, though, to get that reset? One solo inside of that building, now decides to slide out, somehow managed to escape for 9 lives. He's going to swing onto Complexity and really grief them here, and surely this just opens the door now for Eternal to move in, to swing. The barrels go down. It's just a case of finishing this off. The barrels get shot, the bodies get shot, and the bodies hit the floor. Eternal will be your champions here in game number 5.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Love that from you.
Come on, you can do better than that. Come on.
Well, I didn't want to commit to it because I don't want to break my throat. That's the trouble with trying to sing any sort of heavy metal. But it is an incredible victory for Eternal. And as you said, they had a great position. It was just watching the teams that were pushing from the south in the end. But some teams making the best of a bad situation. XSET as a 2 still picking up some big points there.
Yeah, really impressive from XSET in that end game. Impressive from Complexity, as well, to once again be involved in one of those end games and put good points on the board. It's been another great week so far for Complexity, with still 1 game to go as well. Really impressed with that roster. I got to say, I love that roster. I think there's a lot to learn from that roster for teams who are coming together and playing together. It's like I mentioned, it's on paper, you look at it and you're like, you could probably pick a few more names that you want if you were going to pick out of like a talent pool, but as far as a team working together and having synergy and chemistry, you can't really go wrong. Complexity have looked absolutely superb so far today and throughout the split, and I'm a big Complexity guy, a big Complexity fan. I love what they've done with this team, and I think that, you know, they're showing and repaying the faith from Complexity and putting in the performances.
Yeah, and you mentioned Monsoon on the Sentinel as well. He was doing work. He actually, I think, ruined XSET's game right at the end there just by connecting 2 shots to both players, and they were unable to push out, unable to get across. And even though Nocturnal was dipping, dodging, and diving, not going to be enough when you've got kind of 2 teams looking at you at once. And then the solo at the end, you mentioned it. When you get a solo player that does that just pushes onto one team, it just solidifies the victory for the team who's not really getting pushed. But it does mean that big points were picked up.
Yeah, Eternal with the win as well. Really important for them. Good points on the board once again. And we always say it, right? We always look at the top 5 and we're like, who's going to win this week? But outside of that, it's always so close that 1 win puts you into the top 10 comfortably a lot of the time and puts you into a position where you're looking at the overall leaderboards at the end of the season, you're going towards regional finals, and you're like, hey, we're giving ourselves a real chance here. So 1 big match day, 1 big win can really turn that big win into a big match day if you can convert in the next game as well. And only 1 game to go. I felt like we've absolutely flown through North America today. I don't know if it's me or if we're missing a game or something, but I feel like we've got a lot more Apex to play as we take a look at the match results here to see who did come out on top at the end of game number 5. 6 kills to go alongside the 12 placement points for Eternal, 18 overall. Complexity just in behind them with a 15-point total down.
15-point total, well, they'll be delighted with that one. More than enough points to keep you kind of competing at the top of the leaderboard. XSET as well, even as a 2 in the end, picking up a lot of kills towards the end game to put them on 10 points overall. A few teams struggling that, again, still aren't able to pick things up. DarkZero, they got 5 points in the end. They were in position to maybe try and do something similar to what we saw in last game, but in the end, we're not able to get into the same kind of spot because the circle was entirely different in the end. It did pull away, as we had alluded to. Then in the bottom 10, we've got the couple of teams that were contesting in the early stages. Oversleepers lost this one. FURIA, we saw kind of full send a fight early on, but then they were taken out as they started to get involved with Legacy, who then thereafter also went down. And we saw any teams that were trying to take fights in that kind of mid to late game just get obliterated because all of them had to move from east to west, and it wasn't enjoyable for anyone involved.
We'll take a look at the kill leaderboard as well to see who is putting those points on the board for their squads respectively. And a surprise, it's the Aussie himself at the top of things. Zero leading the way for DarkZero. 13 kills, showing the mouse and keyboard and controller. There's no debate. Mouse and keyboard is the superior input. Yeah, in second place with 12 kills himself. McLovin, shout out to you on Eternal. 12 kills for him. Koifel for XSET stepping up once more. He has been probably the standout player for them when you're looking at the leaderboards. Obviously cleaning up a lot of damage that's initiated by his 2 teammates, but 11 kills for him, and hey, another Aussie in there as well. Jem Burton, 10 kills for him alongside Monsoon and Zach Mazer.
Yeah, a few familiar faces in the kill leaderboard as we would expect, and I do think that North America as a region is a little bit tighter than what we saw earlier in EMEA, certainly with groups B and C anyway, from what we had seen. It's so difficult around the kind of top 5 to top 10 here to try and decide who we think is going to be able to creep into those ones. And then there's teams who might even be finishing in the bottom 10 that suddenly have a pop-off game and force their way into the upper echelons. But it's between DarkZero and Eternal at the moment, most likely for who is going to be taking this match day.
I mean, impressive, right? You're looking at how close it is. Eternal, what a match day they have had today. DarkZero on top, but only by 1 point. Complexity just in behind them as well. A little 5-point cushion for them over Legacy as well. A lot of Legacy's points have come from kills. You can see that 14 placement points, but 26 kills alongside it. And we mentioned XSET and OpTic. If they have a big game number 6 here, it could be the perfect tonic and the perfect introduction to them to Season 20 and kind of reminding everyone of just how good they are.
But look, there's only 7 points between XSET and Cream, only 8 points between SSG and XSET. So between 12th and 5th, only 8 points between it right now. And that can be a top 5. That can be a top 10 with kills if you play it correctly. So this is not guaranteed for any of these teams right now. There are big points up for grabs from even those teams who are a little bit lower in the leaderboard. I mean, even the likes of 9 Lives and Oversleepers, if they were to win a game here, they could propel themselves potentially not just into the top 10, but you're looking at maybe even further here. So it is very tight from 5th and down, but we do have our 2 front runners. That's Eternal and DarkZero.
I will also say that DSG, Game 6, it's where they like to do their works, and they're going to have to do their work as we head into a quick break now. We'll have to find out if DSG can put in another Game 6 stunning performance to push themselves up the leaderboard. One more game to go today. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, you beautiful people, my favorite Apex enjoyers, including you, Dan. You're both beautiful and an enjoyer of Apex. We've got one more game to go here in North America in the ALGS Pro League, and before we get there, it's probably a good idea to have a little look at some stats, Dan, to throw up a little bit of information for our lovely people at home, because we want to keep you up to date on everything that's going down. But I'm kind of looking forward to DSG in this last game. I mentioned how they save it for Game 6. Well, this is the story up until Game 6. This is the winners of all of our games so far, and there's one thing to point out is that DarkZero are up there twice, Dan, the greedy lot of them. Can you believe them?
So greedy, just taking all the points away from those who really need them. I mean, the likes of XSET, 9 Lives, FaZe, Sentinels, Meat Lovers, they all need points. Otherwise, you're going to be down in those lower positions in the leaderboard where LAN is not looking as likely. Of course, we do go into the final third, so there are still 2 match weeks left for each team, but that is still getting into scary territory. So a big match here could really make the difference for your chances of getting to LAN and potentially tee you up for a far more kind of enjoyable last couple of match weeks for yourselves rather than sweaty ones.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Game 6 here. Match number 6 is about to be live as we head into Legend Select, and it's the kind of game, Dan, where if you're on the edges of the big points on the final leaderboards, you need to make a little bit of noise here. You need to take some inspiration from some of the noises that Zero makes when he wins a game, because let me tell you, I watched back at that Game 4 endgame, and I heard it through actually your microphone, and let me tell you, I've lost a few I don't know what your eardrums are made of, the fibers in there, but I've lost a few along the way.
Still unsure how he was able to get his entire microphone in his mouth, but I'll allow him to tell you later on his stream. But I'm very impressed with what DarkZero and Zero in general have been able to do today, but can they do more of the same in match number 6? Or do we get a new team to show us and show up in this final match? As I've alluded to, points are so important. Are we going to get the contest happening again? That's the real question at Stormcatcher. Oversleepers and Ape Gang are both here, yes.
Well, it's a cinematic at least, as both teams hit the Horizon queue at exactly the same time. I almost felt like there should have been some sort of like slow montage music for that moment, but unfortunately nothing really happened off the back of it. But this is going to happen. It's going to be the first knock. Bursty will go down. The Prowler will sing loudest.
And it looks like, as it stands, the Oversleepers are going to be taking down Ape Gang and making it 2-1, especially with that initial knock coming through. You'd imagine they should be able to take advantage in a 3 versus 2, or now what it is going to be potentially a 3 versus 1. So Charmander makes sure that he gets that final damage onto the player, but Oversleepers, you know, they still have a chance here. They're in 14th position. I said it before, if they can get going, if they can actually win this contest, they are still in range of the teams that are in the top 10, so they can still pick up some big points, and they are points that are needed. They're in 28th position in the Pro League at the moment.
We needed a southern zone, everyone, didn't we? Come on, let's be real, everybody. It's not going to be an Echo HQ, but it is going to be a coastal camp zone. We're going back down south. It's not a day of ALGS without a coastal or an Echo HQ zone, and we don't want to change that. Everybody's getting used to it, Dan. Everyone's getting comfortable with it now.
I feel for FaZe. I was saying how FaZe need, they need a big game. They have to traverse the entirety of the map, literally the furthest you could go. For FaZe, same for Meat Lovers. They do have a ring console and a survey beacon to FaZe, so they should be able to get blue armor and get the info and start moving and grooving as quick as possible, but that is going to be a long, treacherous journey. Perhaps they can take a route that will allow them to get a couple of harvesters on the way to maybe get to purple. Usually if you are one of the edge teams, you're more likely to get to purple, but FaZe will probably try and move a little bit quicker.
Complexity are trying to move quickly here. They're going to be trying to maybe approach from the pylon side, work their way maybe down south or towards pylon and then up the hill. Any problem with going into pylon is if you don't beat the traffic, which they should do pretty comfortably, to be honest with you, then you do have to work your way up this hill where there's some teams usually on the other side who are just thinking, hey, we can hold this ridge and we might be able to do some damage. But Complexity look to be winning the race to that, although Legacy have just left the top of pylon. That was the team who were firing a few smokes at them to take that height. So now Complexity have a little bit of a problem, although that problem might have just solved itself as Legacy decide to go in a little bit deeper and not hold that ridge themselves.
I always think of Storm Point as this, like, open map where we're going to see loads of fights in the mid-game. As I say that, maybe there's a fight, but loads of fights in the mid-game. But with the 3 circles that we've had so far here in North America, they've all been zones that you can move quickly, set up, get in buildings, get in a lot of playable space. So we're seeing less of those mid-game fights, but also with the meta of Season 20 and with the lack of the ability to get up to purple for some of these teams, people are reluctant to fight. We even saw it in EMEA. Not many mid-game fights happening at the moment. It's a lot of end-game engagements we're seeing instead.
Well, Complexity should be safe to play up on the high ground, just trying to do a little bit of information reconnaissance, see if there is a safer place to play up on the high and not having to be forced to play that low ground. It looks like they will be pretty good. Oh no, oh no, oh no, that is a 3-2-1, and let me tell you, it's not good to be on the receiving end of that.
I don't know if they're even going to get time to be able to pick up Monsoon here, because you have to imagine the team is going to try and get a little bit aggressive here. It's going to be Moist as well, so you know full well they're a team who likes to be aggressive. They'll want to get this squad wipe for the extra Evo shields, but there are teams around, so they do have to be careful.
Yeah, Moist want these KP. And Moist were, I think, in 10th position if I was paying attention in the way that I should have been.
You were.
And they will be able to get this squad wipe by the looks of it. Lou is going to poke. Hilda's just going to do a little bit of extra damage. Doesn't even need the core swap there on the armor, and that'll be them cleaning up Complexity. So a good day for Complexity ends with a little bit of a bomb note, so to speak, but it's going to be Moist to solidify some important kills and important, not only in the overall placements, but also for the context of this game. By being able to get those kills and create the space around them, they now command so much more of the POI than they would have previous.
Yeah, it's not often we see Monsoon hit a bomb note. He's always hitting the right ones from what we've heard before. He can hit them notes. Beautiful voice, but sadly, we won't be hearing from him at the moment. So 19 squads remain. Oversleepers, as I mentioned earlier, they have a lot to do at the moment. They're up into 13th position. They are struggling in the overall leaderboards, but if they can get into the circle, if they can get into the late game, there is always that opportunity of pushing themselves up the leaderboards. with a big game here, and it all starts with picking up extra KP, and that was down Matic as well, so that is a little bit more damage onto Ape Gang. It seems like a lot of their kills have been on Ape Gang today, as OpTic have made their way through, and it's XSET on the other side of it.
I mean, Koifel got stuck in that engagement initially. That's why XSET are backing up now. Look at this temporary fortification. It is almost like they've brought a Lego set with them. They've got a trident, they've got the barrels down, and XSET are deciding, hey, it's not what we recognize as a building we usually see here, but it's effective enough for us to have to back up. So XSET changing their rotate there. OpTic are going to be winning that one, as we now see OpTic actually taking to the skies for a few seconds. By clearing that space, they're able to take that evac tower pretty much uncontested.
For these teams who did try and force their way down onto this southern side, I mean, OpTic and the XSET, because you've got all these teams that have already moved to coastal camp, your access into zone isn't as free as it was as, for example, a barometer zone, and that's why we're seeing them have to take the evac tower just to try and reposition, because they were just being kind of griefed by any of the teams that were already in zone, so they have to rethink and redesign their movement. And it's going to be Beat making their way on the Trident. They are going to get shot from behind by Oversleepers, but they potentially should be able to get away. As I say that, I think that might have been a knock from Meat Lovers, but we'll have to see a little bit later, as Dropped is down to 1 HP right now and will get dropped.
Yeah, that's caustic gas and that zone combining, and that's why that HP disappeared so quickly. They should be able to get a res here. Unfortunately, they don't have the bubble because the Gibraltar is the player who went down. You can see that the rest of Moist really want to try and get angles onto this, and OpTic are in a horrible spot right now, to be honest with you. If they get dropped back up, they might be able to Gibby ult, if he does have it available, to force Moist out a little bit from that position they find themselves in. But even now, crossing from the zone into the safe spot with Moist up on that high ground, it's a pretty tough ask for them.
It's mad. It's going to be an entire day of not seeing Gibraltar get to purple. Rain Day is seething at the moment. I really feel for him, but, you know, it will happen eventually, Evan. Don't worry. But for now, Moist, they've got keen eyes on this. This potentially 3 free kills for them, and they've even got Rolling Thunder to go down to really force them out of this hidey hole.
They're also throwing barrels down, so if OpTic are forced to cross, they're going to get hit by barrels. There's the bubble. Dropped is going to try and slide underneath them, but it's just a case of looking down. Surely Dropped will just about get around that corner, though, but the rest of Moist are going to drop here. They do get that first knock, and now you can see, unfortunately for OpTic, this is looking like the end of the road for them in this game, although one player did manage to escape.
Yeah, I respect Knock there. He was the bait. He said, you go on without me. Leave me behind, soldier. And one player was able to just escape.
I think what probably happened is he went, where are you going?
Why aren't you fighting with me?
You've just left me.
That's literally my experience of Apex. I'm the one running, and you're the one fighting.
Yeah, that's my experience of Apex as well.
Dan, fight with me. No, I can survive. I can get us back in. It's a little bit different.
SSG then. Trying to do a little bit of damage to the teams rotating in later. They're kind of shooting out towards FaZe and Meat Lovers at the moment. And Meat Lovers are on our screens right now playing that low ground. They will be able to take that zip if they wanted to get up to the high ground, but they don't know what's above them. SSG is what that team. Dropped is doing his best palm tree impression at the moment, and it's working.
Just trying to do his best to stay alive. It's going to be similar to the last 2 games. 19 squads again as round 2 begins to close. There's what? 9 Lives who are down to a 1, Disguised, and Ape Gang who are back up to a 4-3 again. Ape Gang are just over and over getting back up to a 4-3. Maybe they'll feed some more kills to Oversleepers later on, but SSG, they're going to get Phony back on his feet, and it's OpTic Gaming eventually do go down. So the palm tree impression, sadly, does not last further than 19th place.
It's a tough one to master. It's a tough one to master. I will say, though, it made me giggle a little bit from the Meat POV there, because there was about 17 different pings on the tree. It's like, yeah, you know where he is, guys. Like, I think you've got that information across. Elsewhere, Eternal. Again, center zone in a pretty good position. Tempr going to be in the middle of the zone as well. Outside, though, you can see this is the ridge we were talking about between the pylon and where everybody else is stacked up at the moment. If you're approaching late, it can be a little bit rough. FURIA, though. Speaking of rough, they do get the first knock here. It's been a tough day for them so far, but they could save it here in game number 6. And the damage coming in from Madness with that Havoc should surely allow the rest of your teammates just to walk in and clean this up. That's exactly what they do. Oversleepers will be eliminated, and FURIA have somewhere to play from.
Yeah, FURIA at least can try and do something to salvage this day. As you mentioned as well, Eternal playing pretty well, and Eternal were in 26th position in the overall standings coming into today. And remember, they were 2nd overall in the current match week standing, so this could be a huge series for them. Disguised, another team who haven't been able to have a big game so far, 15th position in today's series. Only on 16 points, but that means they're only about 20 off of 5th place, so a victory can still get you up there.
But they're going to fight to take here, right on the edge of zone against Ape Gang. They're a little bit split here, Ape Gang as well, but Designful's just got to be careful here that he doesn't go down in and around the zone with the zone ticking away his health meds. Gets that first knock though, and now you would expect DSG to move in and try and finish this off. If they can get these kills, their rotate is clean in front of them, and it looks like they will be able to do so. It's clean from DSG, and I tell you what, the Game 6, I would say, I don't want to call it a curse because it's the complete opposite. The Game 6 dream is still alive.
The miracle is still there for them. I mean, they've done it before, and they can certainly do it again. They do have the majority of the northern side of the map to themselves at the moment, but the problem is, regardless of where they enter this next circle, there are teams waiting for them. So it's one of those situations where they might have to just try and get over the top of everyone, but even then, it's like, where do you land? Perhaps there is space that they can work with, but we'll have to wait and see. As for FURIA, they've bumped themselves up into 19th position with the extra KP they've been able to pick up so far, and they do have a Kraber to work with.
They also have 2 reds now because that Evo Harvester is going to work wonders for them. So even though they were taking damage, even though they've got to work their way in from the quicker side of the zone, the quick side of the zone, they are able to fight. And if you gave FURIA an option on how to play this game, they would love to fight every single time they can. So even though it looks like a tough rotate for them, they've got the utility and the armors to do exactly that. We'll have to see how this plays out. There's a real opportunity for FURIA to have success here as a DarkZero. Gonna fly in here on the Trident, playing this one very late.
Yeah, really late indeed, and again, a similar push from their last couple of games where they're approaching from that southwest side. Always curious to go into the brains of Zero and DarkZero. Let's jump into a listen and see what they're saying.
I'm good, I'm good.
Select them.
I can
overstick the car. I'm gonna overstick the car. Select it.
I can hold second.
I overstick the car. I'm gonna overstick it again.
Wait.
No, I don't think you do.
That actually.
He's on. He's on.
I got ulting. Ulted it.
Yeah, let's side.
Yeah, let's side.
I have 161. Do you want to get Constable down? Yeah,
I can't down right now. I got my nade.
I can't see. I got Constable down.
I'm taking space, boys.
I flexed them.
This guy's scanning.
Can you keep going? I'm in gas.
Yeah, 51. I'm under.
I'm just in gas.
Yeah, I'm just in.
Can you smoke here so I can get the perp? I need to check not push.
My blood's off.
Team here, this is the soul, I think. There's a guy there.
I'm scanning free.
Yeah, chill.
Scanning free. I'm chilling. We can play the car.
Do you have double XL? No, I have
no. I'm scanning left.
Do you have one? Do you have an XL? No, I do not have one. Fuck, bro.
The caustic ulted. There's the dog shit all. What the f?
Pop that, Jen. Pop that. I'm holding not.
Alright.
I need it. You're kind of laggy in voice. I'm not gonna lie. It's E8 not. Wait. They're dying.
So DarkZero used all their utility to try and force their way in through this tunnel, and it looks like they want to continue to try and take this fight down. You can hear the desperate calls for OXLs to try and get Sykes his ultimate back, and if they can do that, it's almost a guaranteed push for them.
Yeah, it's guaranteed, but there is another team above them here, so you have to be careful getting involved in this engagement and be prepared for having another team potentially join you. But certainly DarkZero are one of the teams who always manage to find a way to kind of re-engage or disengage at the right time. They're still holding that first position. Their closest threat is Eternal at the moment, and they will want to hold first place here, so they're not going to overcommit and find themselves in a tough spot.
Damage coming in from Zero, and I mentioned how M&K is at the top of the kill leaderboards. Well, there's a good example of why M&K is great in certain situations, being able to flick away, having taken the damage, and get back to your teammates almost immediately. And now with the scan coming in, and the knock coming in as well from behind, this is the signal for DarkZero to move forward, try and clean this fight up. The turbocharged Havoc is a problem, but Zero is also finding some problems himself, but again, manages to just about escape.
Just about. Will be able to get that bat off and has the cover as well from the wingman of Jen Burton. That's going to be a real threat to the other team who is on the other side of this tunnel, but round 4 is closing, so DarkZero need to get a little bit of a boogie on. They are slowly but surely trying to continue to press up through this tunnel and continue to do damage, but Burton's taken a lot, but they are able to reply with a little bit of their own.
Sykes is going to go in and try and finish this one off. Oh, Sykes has got to win this. The knockdown shields are a problem. Surely he does, though. He does indeed. But XSET are waiting in the wings to try and push this. Are they going to go for the immediate res? It looks like the answer is yes, but look at this. XSET moving up. They want to clean this up as we move over to watch FURIA for a few seconds as they make their move. The caustic goal goes in. It's all up to you, Sykes, for DarkZero. But the rest of XSET say it's time for DarkZero to go to sleep.
I think it was actually Sentinels in the end who came in to pick up those kills. XSET, sadly, during all that commotion, were not able to survive, as now Disguise down to potentially just one. Timmy and Designful working hand in hand to try and do as much damage as they fight uphill. A very difficult fight to take indeed, but they are just about surviving at the moment.
There's a nade in front of them. They've got to try and slide past this frag grenade, and they're going to do exactly that. I'm pretty sure they've got one player to deal with here who's going to finally decide to run away. FaZe's disappointing run today ends again as they fall out of the lobby too. DSG still alive. Only 2 of them, but the Game 6 stream lives on once more.
But it is Sentinels who hold now one of the priority positions. I really messed up that word. Priority positions at the moment, and they need this as well. We saw right at the start of today, Sentinels were in 22nd position overall. A big game here is going to be huge for their chances of land going into the final third of Pro League. Elsewhere, teams that could potentially have a big game here. Moist still alive, Meat Lovers very close nearby, and of course, we've seen Legacy perform very well today. A lot of kills. They're in 4th position at the moment, and they're still a threat atop this leaderboard, but it's all about Eternal for me. Seeing now DarkZero get wiped out, the chance for first place is in Eternal's hands.
An opportunity. Great shots coming in from Legacy, though. They control that door with the catalyst, being able to reinforce so they can pop through it every time that they want to. And they do exactly that to get the knock onto the first member of Tempr. Meat Lovers will be eliminated in the meantime, and all of a sudden we're down to 6 squads here. As Tempr down to 2, try and move in to maybe do some damage to Legacy, but Legacy have looked too good.
Circle closing. Sentinels the only team that are within this next zone as well. So Moist, Eternal, Legacy, Tempr, and Disguised all have to move together from this east side into the western point of view. Legacy trying to survive. They're going to have to push out of this building. DarkZero will go down to give them the coverage, and they can challenge the team to their right.
And they're going to push him into DSG as well. Jaguars is going to take some damage, and even though DSG are just at 2, this damage that's being done and the damage that's being taken by Legacy means that Yanya is a solo player now. He will fall, and DSG are still alive here. Game 6 is where they come to life. Just pretend every game is Game 6 DSG moving forward. You're going to win everything.
Well, now Sentinels might have got eyes on the duo of DSG, though, as Timmy taking a lot of damage, trying to survive in the smoke is not going to work out. Designful going to do his best palm tree impression now and will survive for a little bit longer, but for how long? 4 squads remain. Sentinels in one of the better positions, but it is Eternal and Moist who have both taken damage, and I think, again, we're going to get another situation, Mark, where it's going to be Sentinels versus 3 rats.
That's crazy, right? That is absolutely crazy. Surely this is Sentinels' game. We've seen Complexity being able to close out a game like this a little bit earlier on. That was World's Edge. This is Stormpoint, but I mean, I said I hadn't seen it before. Now I've seen it twice.
By the way, at the moment, Eternal are still tied with DarkZero for first position. If they're able to get into third, which I believe they just did with that kill, and getting into top 3, Eternal should now be able to be top 1 and take away so much important points for their chances of getting to LAN.
DSG inside the top 3 as well. That's where they'll end. DSG will be eliminated. Designful just couldn't do any more, and Carter, I've said this before. Amazing performance so far. He's done his job to get them the points that they do need. But unfortunately, there's 3 members in front of you. Charge! He's doing it! Oh, hold up for just a second. Winnable. Oh my god. I mean, I was joking with the charge, but okay, I was joking, everybody. Sentinels will win the final game of the day, but Carter gave it his all. But that's an important game for Sentinels. They get the win in the final game. And that final game in general, Dan, is going to shake up those standings quite some.
It will, because even though it was a final charge, a desperate attempt from Eternal in the end, what they had already solidified was first place in the series today. And that is massive for their chances of getting to LAN. They were able to just pip DarkZero in those final moments because DarkZero were eliminated earlier. But for Sentinels, that is going to shoot them up the leaderboards. And again, could be huge for their chances too.
DSG once again, top 3 finally in the final game. I don't know what the mentality is like for those guys. They've had some rough games up until that point, but they always save the best for last, hey? And we know they've got some amazing content creators on that team, so maybe they're just doing it for the content, Dan, just to keep everybody watching. Praying on the downfall, and then they're like, hey, we got you. We'll be back next week as well. We're still in the hunt. But, I mean, I think the standout performances today, we have to talk about Eternal, right? I mean, what a performance from them. And I think nobody really saw that coming, with all due respect, but their consistency was commendable.
Yeah, I mean, to be in 26th position coming into today, they were definitely on no one's radar. And of course, they hadn't played as many match weeks as some of the other teams, so they were naturally going to be a little bit lower. But 26th is a significantly low number to be in the leaderboards. But suddenly, a match week win is going to send them so much further up into the top 20, you'd imagine. So now they're going to have a real chance of competing for LAN, and that will do wonders for their confidence as well. Like, there's so many different things that apply here for them, and they just played excellently. Some of their positioning in the final circles was almost perfect at times, and that made it very difficult for teams that were arriving late.
And I got to give a huge shout out to Car as well in that end game. I thought for a second we were going to see one of the greatest clips we've ever seen in the ALGS. When he got the first kill and then hits like almost 100 spray on the second, I was like you said, winnable. This is winnable all of a sudden, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Sentinels are a little bit too experienced for that situation, but I think it's fascinating as well that we've seen 2 games today where there's been 1 full team alive and 4 rats trying to work their way, 4 solo players trying to be involved in that end game. It's very rare that we've seen that at all. Maybe that's something to do with those blue armors.
Well, something to do with blue armors, and I think just with the amount of caustics in general, it does often seem like the caustic the last remaining player, because you barrel down, you hunker down, you wait, you survive, you hide in your gas, you're not going to be pushed as easily, and it means that you just survive, and people kind of forget about you and focus on someone else, especially in those hectic end games. But here is confirmation of match 6. Sentinels pick up 16 points in the end, only 4 kills. Moist may have gone down early on, but they had 13 kills, which means that technically they won that game.
I just looked across and I was just having a sip of water and I almost choked on it because I saw it was like Moist. 13. All right, fair enough. 13 kills for Moist. That'll get the job done. 18 points overall for them. Outside of that, though, it was slim pickings for the rest of the lobby. But DSG, again, game 6, excuse me, right up there. Complexity having their one-off game, I would say, today. They've been pretty impressive so far. DarkZero in the mid-table. XSET just outside of that top 10 in the final game as well, but I think that their confidence will be restored a little bit after their performance today. SSG, I would say, a little bit disappointing today. Haven't really talked about them too much, especially after the last 2 times that these groups matched up against each other. They were the team who came out on top, but OpTic, we saw they had a rough one in that game as well, but I think the overall standings is where we all want to point ourselves to, right? We want to see who's at the top, and we know that DarkZero are going to be up there. We know that Eternal will probably be on top as well, but it's outside of that, Dan. What's it going to look like as we bring Rain Day back in to maybe give us a little bit of insight on how things are going to be looking?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, you two did a fantastic job through those last 2 games. Really exciting stuff. And yeah, we got to see another 4-man standoff with one team sitting pretty in Sentinels. Complexity and Sentinels both showing we are not going to lose to this type of shenanigans. But I will say there's got to be some type of signal. Maybe everybody throws like an emote down or something if you're a rat, and if there's like multiple emotes, you know, okay, ceasefire, go for the team that didn't throw the emote down. I feel like we've got to see some way to link up there and make sure that it's a fair fight. But, you know, positioning and all of that Sentinels had done and made it unfair on purpose. That was their prize for doing so well. But let's walk it through, guys, how we even got there, because Stormpoint gave us a ton of great matches. It started off in match 4, if you missed it, to re-wrap here with one of the best 1v1s we've seen in a while. Certainly today, it was electrifying, and it was 2 teams from Australia, now representatives in North America. 2 of our top teams here, Moist and DZ, going back to back. Moist had nobody behind them, DZ either, so it was 2 teams fighting in front of each other, and it would come down to a 1v1, and this would be the difference. Both players, MT as well as Zero, hiding behind these shields. Gilderson's, you might question, was that a mistake? He went in while MT was still healing, but either way, it sets up for a very even match. 2 shields and almost the exact same amount of health. Who would clutch up? Oh, you could not tell. With this BNT's moment, we've seen him hit 360 Kraber shots, and so we knew we can get the job done under pressure. But Zero, he said, listen, let me tell you how this hardware feels. It feels heavy, and that means you got to be able to lift your team on your shoulders, and he did just that. DarkZero took the W in game number 4, and they would look like they were going to win. But as game 5 and 6 continued on, Mark, the story would start to shift.
They certainly would indeed. It was XSET who were kind of just playing as a duo for so much of this game. They were surviving, they were thriving, they were the cockroaches of the lobby, just being able to find any way to survive anything that was thrown at them. Complexity up on this high ground were really harassing a lot of teams as well, but they were finally swung up by the solo, I believe, from 9 lives in the end of this game. And this was the door really being open for Eternal to move into a position to potentially win this lobby today. You can see they get this great spot just overlooking everything that's going down, and their job is made a lot easier. You'll see it in these final moments here. They get the caustic gas down, of course, which is going to help them just have that little bit of space to play with, but there is that solo swinging onto Complexity, and that just makes their job so much easier. The attention is taken away, they get the barrels down, and look how easy an end game this is to win. Fire a few shots into players not looking, job done.
Well, so impressed with what he was doing as well, Evan. I mean, McLovin coming in and really making a difference for Eternal. And I thought, you know, maybe it would be in vain, that victory, because DarkZero had been so consistent throughout the day. But when we saw DarkZero eliminated in the top 7, I think it was, in the end, after the push from Sentinels, suddenly the floodgates opened for Eternal. They just had to get to top 3, and they did just that. And then we had this 1v3. I mean, you always think this is impossible, but we've seen the impossible happen in the ALGS. As a caustic, if he had had the Nox grenade, maybe we could have seen it happen, but he certainly was at least able to go out with a bang and show that Carter can do damage and will confidently push into a fight. The Bloodhound scan was never really going to help because it meant when he climbed, the info was there.
Taking down RKN there was not going to get, though, down past Luda and the rest of the squad. Sentinels would ultimately sacrifice one, with the other 2 wrap around and get the W. 69 points, though, gentlemen, will mean that Eternal EC starting out this series in 26th place have now taken a first place finish over the likes of DarkZero, over Moist, over XSET, over OpTic, over DSG. All of these teams, even FURIA, who we were talking about earlier, were not able to compete. It was a masterclass for a squad that this is rarely seen, but show that it is possible in Eternal EC to take that as well, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance. Probably one of the standout performances that we've had so far this split, because you're looking at this lobby and you're looking at the rest of the team names and the players and the history and the profiles, right? DarkZero, Legacy, Moist, Sentinels, Complexity, Elevate, XSET, Meat Lovers, OpTic, and you're not even talking about the likes of FURIA, FaZe, SSG, and to come top of that pile, that's incredibly impressive. And I think the thing that impressed me most is when you're fighting with teams like Legacy and DarkZero over most kills in the lobby as a team, you know you're playing some phenomenal Apex legends. It's not just the placement points. They won some really important battles, and winning battles breeds confidence, right? 69 points overall is an amazing total, but it's those kills. I mean, that shows that you can win fights against the best in the world.
And when you look at this overall standings, what that's done for them, let's see. They're not going to be in the top 10, of course. DarkZero will still, after 4, be 10 points ahead of Moist Esports, who poetically in that 1v1 also share the first and second spot in the leaderboards. LG right behind them, Elevate and TSM rounding out our top 5 with Complexity in a nice 6th position. SSG, Legacy, GKS, and FURIA, despite FURIA having a very poor game today. But EEC going from 26th now to 17th place. This not only puts them in the position to compete for a spot at LAN with their chances at a regional final, looking like it's going to regional playoffs to get to LAN, looking like it could be possible, Dan. But also, if they keep this up, you know, the sky's the limit for them.
Sky is the limit for sure, but just being in the top 20 is where you want to be for playoffs. So job number 1 is done. Job number 2 is staying there and keeping this consistency, keeping yourself in those final circles. That's what Eternal were able to do over and over today, was find themselves in that very late game. Maybe the meta kind of leaning towards their playstyle a little bit more, but the meta is always going to develop and you have to develop with it. So we'll kind of be watching Eternal with keen eyes to see how they progress. And then as we get into the bottom 10, you've got now the teams who, after 2/3 of the season has been played, they are in the danger zone. And that is some big teams that are in there. Native Gaming, FaZe, Skirt, teams that maybe I was expected to be a little bit higher. Meat Lovers, although they have been through a few team changes for sure. But this is teams that are going to want to be at LAN. Teams that we expected to be at LAN. Players, some of the biggest players and streamers that we have, not going to be at LAN at the moment. So we have to see some changes come through. And whether that's just going to be a playstyle change, ideology change of how you want to approach the game, we need to see something.
And it's a great point, just for those kind of hearing us say it, but just to be very clear about it, the top 20 teams will qualify for the regional final that we'll play on our final day here on day 10 of our matches. We'll finish 9 with all the play-ins, and then obviously we'll have our playoff. The top 10 plus our regional final winner will qualify for LAN. So making that top 20, not nearly job done, but it does put you in the possibility zone. Out of that, there's no chance at all. You're going to have to wait till next split or a different version of qualifying. If this happens to be split 2 heading into championships, we'll cover that when we get there, though. Of course, every single time we play in North America or in EMEA, we have a few standouts. And today's standout is one that we have to mention and celebrate, because not only did they show that they can play at the highest of high levels against the lobby with the winners of and the highest team of all in North America, they did it in dramatic fashion. And that's by, of course, the fashionable name, McLovin. I mean, you know, I grew up loving Superbad. Now I've got to say that this play has also been Superbad in the good way, you know, the way we like to use it. And that's absolutely what Eternal EC have brought to the table. They've been effective, but they've caught people off guard. They've run a similar meta. There's nothing fancy in what they're doing. It's just been about play, rotations, finding themselves in end zones more often than not, but bringing kills along with them when they win. And you can see this is the individual skill. Kosi, Carter, McLovin, they can take and win their 1v1s, plus they're also going to be able to work as a team to get here. Not only are they very good when it comes to positioning and I think just game awareness, it was today maybe a type of situation we don't often see. A team that is clearly not within the top 20 have a first place finish. That usually does not happen. And it's because if you've done something to not be in the top 20, it means that, you know, those things don't necessarily go together. But now with season 20, we've been looking for it. Have they hit their rhythm? Have they found their answer? Maybe it's Caustic, who knows? But congratulations to McLovin, 12 kills, 8 assists on the day. And that is a huge, huge moment here. So I just got to say, it is the top 11 for North America, just to clarify for our regional finals who will go and represent in our LAN. But Mark, Dan, I mean, got to give a shout out. McLovin, Dan, it's a great name, but it was great play today across all of EEC.
Yeah, I love how you said super bad, but not in the way that we would expect to say it. It's kind of like super bad. It's like just a little bit cooler, right? And there was a lot of grief for McLovin in the chat before games as well. People weren't happy with how they were playing at times, saying they weren't playing properly. They just won the group, so that's one better way. And what better way to answer how you're going to approach the game? So I'm happy for McLovin and a great MVP as well.
And I'm also really excited to hear their perspective. And in fact, to end this broadcast, we have a chance to talk with one of the members from EEC. It should be Kosi, who's joining us here in just a moment live. And so if they show up, we'll be excited to talk with them. I can't wait to pick their brain on what has been happening so far in this meta, because it's been a story that we will not forget for a long time. It could be the story that begins their journey to head into not just the regional final, but have a chance at LAN coming into 26. We're waiting to see if we can hear them. And here, Kosi, do you got us?
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right. Hey, man. Hey, good to talk with you. I know we don't have your camera here like most of our interviews, so we're just going to do this audio. But first off, big congratulations to your team on the win. How does it feel? And, you know, what does it mean today in the position you were in, coming in from 26, now obviously taking a first place over even the first place team overall in North America, DarkZero, just by Carter's heroics at the very end. You know, how does it feel? What's going on with the team morale and you guys behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we had a rough first three game days, but we've been working really, really hard, and we had a roster change leading up to this. Honestly, he just fits our team really well. He's very loud. He shoots really well too. So I'm really proud of how we did today. I feel like little mistakes were made. We're really confident going into it. So I'm just proud of the boys. We did really well.
I can feel that pride coming through in your voice. Like it's just a genuine, genuine happiness I can hear from you at the moment. And my question kind of leans into not just your performance today, which understandably you're over the moon with, first place. Why wouldn't you? But do you feel like season 20 has kind of played into your guys' hands a little bit on how you want to approach the game? Because a lot of those end games we were seeing, there was a lot of blue shields that you were having to fight against instead of like the purples and reds that maybe previously you'd had to go against. Did you feel that was making the fights a little bit more even for you? And with your gun skill, you were just able to win them?
I'm not gonna lie, like we landed Sky East and Devastated Coast, which aren't like the two best POIs to be going from, but like we won a lot of like uneven fights. I think outside of like Spider Cave near Barrow, Tech and them pushed us with red and we won with blue shields. I think we just team fought really, really well today. Not to bash on them or anything.
Well, you guys pushed yourself into the top 20, which is where you want to be if you want to get to regional finals. But to get yourself to LAN, you have to be pushing a little bit further into that top 11. Do you think that's still possible? I mean, you still got 2 match weeks, and if you play like that, surely that's got to be the goal, right?
Absolutely. I think I'm the most confident I've been in our team as of now, especially after our performance today. Just feeling good, feeling really good.
One of the things, just to wrap this up, that we don't often see, that's why I kind of hark on it, is teams, tend to have similar performances. And even if they have a good day, they kind of bounce back and forth here. And I want to know, you guys had such a dramatic shift. There was a new player that came in. You said that was a big part of it. How much has season 20 played into it before we let you go? Has there been maybe a lineup or just the way that you guys are playing in this season as the new changes have happened to Apex that you feel have opened some doors for you heading into the last round of these games?
It definitely was a little bit to adjust to, because like the whole meta shifted, like all of the legends, and like we kind of had to get used to that. I got switched onto Bangalore. Honestly, like our legends and whatnot feels really good. The way we play the game, like I feel like we had a good game plan going into today, and like we adjusted to the new season properly.
Sometimes that's all it is. There's a lot of questions, if, ands, or buts, but if you do it, you get the job done. That's all that the history books are going to remember. Kosi, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your win with EEC, taking first place here in Match Day 6 in North America.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Kosi. Mark, Dan, obviously, we're not going to transition out of anything. We're here. Great interview with the guy. Obviously felt very confident, but that was the type of performance that really can set the tone for the rest of the season. You want a big moment. We asked for big moments. This is the chance that you have to make a move. Mark, final thoughts on the day and also just the impact that you've seen EEC have and what that means for the rest of the teams here as we go into Match Day 7 tomorrow.
I mean, there's one thing that makes you believe that you can beat the best in the world, and that's beating the best in the world, right? Proving you can do it, putting in a performance like that and come in first place. And I got to say, that's like one of my favorite interviews because I feel like Kosi's trying to like present like genuine response and like everything like that. He's trying to give you good answers, but you can just feel the emotion. Like you can feel he's smiling, even though we couldn't see the camera. Like there's that, totally really well, but also like we're just really happy. Like you feel that belief, you can feel that confidence coming through in just that interview. So an amazing performance from them, but also don't take away from the likes of DarkZero, Moist. There's a reason they're at the top of the leaderboards, and again, they had some monster games today, and they could have had even bigger ones in certain points, but. Probably one of my favorite ALGS days. I'll say it just because it was so unpredictable with season 20, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the split. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. And Dan, Mark's right. I mean, not to over highlight EEC, but it is good to give them their moment because how often does it happen? Will it happen again? We don't know, but we certainly know the DarkZero, Moist, these juggernauts, they're not going anywhere, and they have one destination. That is getting a trophy. So someone's going to have to stop them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I know I kept saying, top 20 is LAN. Well, top 20 is the first step to LAN because you can get to regional finals, but it's the top 11 where you need to be. So that's my mistake, and I apologize. But certainly you're on your way there now if you're Eternal. You were down in the bottom 10, looking like you might not even make regional finals. Now you're in those regional final spots, and you can start to think about actually making LAN. So it is all kind of a one step up the ladder, one at a time. A few takeaways as well from today. I mean, the Rat Megazord is still going to be in my mind as I go to bed. Certainly, we saw that a few times, but I want to see how those rats can combine as one. And I'm also still wondering how Zero was able to get that much microphone inside his mouth. So go back, watch that, watch Game 4, watch it from Zero's point of view. It was a great 1v2 clutch, and his reaction was amazing. And that's going to be a meme that will live in Apex Legends history for a long time.
I just want to say quickly, I do not want to be in Dan's dreams tonight. Like, there's going to be some weird things
rats,
going on
microphones. There's just a lot going on there, fellas. We're going to let you process as well. Mark, on your side, head to bed. Dan, enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. Thank you, fellas, for a great cast today and a great couple of broadcasts.
Thank you, dude. Pleasure.
All right, guys. Guess what? That means we're done for today. But there's still more. Tomorrow, EMEA and North America for Match Day 7. Go again. And it's Season 20, featuring some of your favorite teams and some of the deadlier teams when it comes to Apex Legends. That's right. I'm talking Element 6. They get a chance to show off what K Swinney and the boys have been working on. We know that Tyler FPS had a moment there, and he got a chance to play today. Well, what will K Swinney and Slab and Cracked play? Slab already pioneering the Bloodhound early on in this season, but can they get through Cybercats, who have been playing out of this world? Branches and Cassania, I mean, excellent players rocking the fuse. We saw that with DSG a little bit today. Will they continue to showcase in EMEA? You have to tune in and find out. That'll be our first broadcast. And if you stay, I think you should. North America, just like now, will have their moment in the sun. GKS, ooh, what a performance. They've been doing really, really well over the last few match days. They'll continue to have a chance. Stay Naughty, Saucer, and Chaotic Much to put together the experience of that trio and keep turning it into wins and wins. But will it be enough? Oxygen Esports know what it's like to play at LAN. They know what it's like to be in the biggest of moments. But now the question is, can they get there? Season 20 will poise a whole new set of challenges for this 3v3 monster team fighting composition. All of that and more on Match Day 7 tomorrow. And remember, if you want to stay tuned with us, make sure to follow Play Apex Esports on X, twitch.tv/PlayApex, and of course, YouTube on Play Apex as well for all of that. Listen, there is no better time for you to join Apex and download Season 20, because this is a refresh for everything that has been the favorite game that we know and love. So make sure you go ahead and put that on our computers. Get ready to play, because this is the time to jump back in to the game. From all of us, our production, our casters, everyone at EA behind the scenes, and Respawn, we wish you a fantastic evening. And remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all in game.
We playing the highs and leaving the lows. Already know. Whole team, bring it in. Come and take over the scene. I got a lot of rely on the line. I got a whole lot of lose. You know me, you walk it back. I'm not taking this.
Come on, baby.